Hello and welcome back to another Let's Draw, and today we're going to be continuing on with the Angel of Death, as it is Halloween day and he is allowed to roam the streets without picking anybody up. So I thought we'd have a bit of fun with him before he escapes off and has to do his duty again, as I want to digitize him today. And yes, we made a start and finished colouring him in. This I wish I left as was, but definitely check out the colours that I use for the paper version, because they are the Copic markers that I normally use. And I use sort of different colours, but I didn't try and blend them at all. I might go back and try and do something else to it, as I'm not really happy with the colours, but definitely go and check them out and let me know what you think. But today we're going to be digitising in this one. Again, we're going to be using white for the bones. Maybe change the colour and other things that may be needed. I might sort of use some textures, maybe put some wings. Put some feathers on the on the bones themselves. When I was doing the inking, I didn't want to sort of put them on and make it look stupid. I did want them to have like a bone. Maybe I'll put some muscle on there, as I don't think I can do it with the Copic colours that I've got now, as they're sort of getting thin and they're running out. So I'm thinking about getting some more and see what other what larger amounts that we can get. Maybe some blending tools and get some other things for the art for next month, as next month is going to be all about fire and fireworks. I was thinking maybe start out on the image of V for Vendetta, but normally I will be doing something a bit more fiery, maybe where fireworks actually came from. I did ask Alexa, and she told me this. Alexa, where do fireworks originate?
The earliest documentation of fireworks dates back to 9th century medieval Chinese Tang dynasty. The fireworks were used to accompany many festivities. The art and science of firework making has developed into an independent profession. In China, pyrotechnicians were respected for their knowledge of complex techniques in mounting firework displays.
Wow, thank you very much. Well, like I said, there's going to be next month. We'll be doing something a bit more Chinese, maybe a dragon or two, because I'm liking to do wings at the moment. But I'm thinking maybe start creating my own characters again, as Nala, my own dog, is an actual in the pictures of what I've actually trying to modify and tried doing a live before. I don't know if actually any of you caught that, but if you did, check it out. Tell me what you think, as I might be working on Blue Angel as well as, but maybe we'll try and keep it just in the fire and fireworks this time today. Sorry, not today. On tomorrow, maybe. I'm going to be doing another different drawing, because I'm trying to finish this one, because I'm starting a little bit early. But that's enough of me chattering on. Let's actually get some work done and listen to a playlist by Comic Storian.
And what we mean by that is he always seems to be
and enjoy
danger
to listen while I draw.
Some of his most favorite love interests.
I'm going to be using every tool that I used previously,
because of his vigilante work.
And I try and use some more down here at the bottom as well.
Some of his most favorite love interests in chronological order. Electra.
Check if everything's good. Again, I'm going to have to pop in and out of the comments.
Electra. Matt and Electra met when he was going to Columbia University to study law, and they dated for a short
I'll have to keep sort of doing that if everybody doesn't mind. I will in and out pop for things such as if I was to minimize like I did before. So if anybody does want to chat to me live, just leave a comment and I'll check them in time that I can.
There she meets the blind sensei, Stick, the same Stick who trained Daredevil himself. But the darkness inside her was too much, and she left Stick to join the Hand, a secret organization.
Different layers, there's also a couple there. There's going to be a cross, because I want to do that nice and neat in the background.
And she eventually breaks away from the Hand and goes to New York City as an assassin for hire. In New York, she comes at odds with Daredevil, and through particular circumstances, he reveals his identity to her. They continue to work together on and off to renew their romance until she's eventually killed by the supervillain Bullseye, who stabs her through the chest with one of her own weapons. Before dying, she goes
Sorry
to
guys,
Matt
I just got to
Murdock's
readjust that if I
brownstone
knocked you out.
and she dies in his arms on his own steps.
Give me
While
a
this
second.
isn't the end for Elektra, this truly ended the romance that Elektra
No, there
and
we go.
Daredevil shared. It is
Sorry
one of the
guys,
most
I knocked the
notable
actual
love stories
camera
of
there.
Daredevil.
Again, it's in front of
Karen
me,
Page.
as if I was
The
drawing on a
longest
page.
on-again and off-again romance in Matt's life is his original secretary at Nelson and Murdoch.
It's just
the
I've got to use my
beautiful
other
Karen Page.
thing. So if you
Karen
get a little bit
immediately fell in love
fuzzy
with Matt,
image,
but there
don't
was
forget to
always
come
a
over to
sexual
Instagram because I
tension
do always
in the workplace
post
between
everything
Matt,
I do
Bobby, and Karen.
in full
Though they never
format.
acted upon their love, when Karen discovered that Daredevil's secret identity was Matt, she couldn't bear to be with him because of Matt's violent nightlife. So she went to Hollywood to become a movie actress. While she enjoyed the career of middling actress, she eventually started working in a pornographic film because of her newly acquired addiction to heroin. In need of money for a fix, she sold the identity of Daredevil to a drug dealer who in turn sold that information to the crime lord Kingpin, who used this information to torment Matt Murdock's life. Karen eventually comes back to New York and Matthew takes her in and helps her beat her addiction to heroin. And then they share an apartment and live out a romantic lifestyle for a time until she discovers that Matt is also having an affair with Typhoid Mary. She then runs away to California only to come back to New York with some devastating news that she is in fact HIV positive. Of course, this news is only a ruse by the supervillain Mysterio to cause Daredevil more torment. Yes, I said Mysterio, one of Spider-Man's villains. But before the truth that it was all a trick by Mysterio could be revealed,
Every road leads to Spider-Man.
This time,
And
Bullseye
I did them
catches
all
one of
the
Daredevil's own villain
actual
ones, and he throws him back at him.
heist
Karen
actually,
kills him,
the
immediately dying in Daredevil's arms. Murdock still thinks of his love for
sorry,
Karen
I'm
often, and
focusing
is
here.
tormented by his inability to keep her safe.
Played
It is
more of the
one of
heist.
most bittersweet love stories in his storied career.
If anybody
Black Widow.
has been playing the
In
Spider-Man game,
1970s,
I'd love to
Daredevil
comment
relocated to
what
San
you think,
Francisco for a
what you
time,
thought,
where he grew
have
very
you
close
finished,
to
how
Natalia
fast did you
Romanoff,
finish
the Black Widow. During these
the
times,
actual
the two
game? Because it
teamed
took
up to
me
be
a
the
while
protectors
to
of San
finish
Francisco,
because I thought to
partnering
myself,
up to
I
deal
wanted
with the
it
colorful
to
cast of villains that they had to
sort of
face up
get
against.
every
The team up was
trophy
so
and
popular
everything
that
like
they
that.
renamed the comic Daredevil and Black Widow for a short time. The two shared an apartment during their team up because of comics code, actually preventing the writers from clearly stating the extent of their relationship. However, in later stories, it is stated that they were romantically involved, but Matt Murdock thought of it as merely platonic. Hence, when Black Widow grew bored of being treated as the sidekick, she left Matt so that she could go on and do bigger and better things. Typhoid Mary. Now let's talk about another one of the villainesses that Daredevil has been known to romance, the mentally unstable mutant Typhoid Mary. In Daredevil's original origin, Mary was actually working at the brothel where he was fighting the minions of the Fixer, and in his rage he pushed the girl out a window who attacked him. Well, it turns out that that girl was mild-mannered Mary Walker, but when she walked away from the accident, we learned that she began to suffer from dissociative identity disorder and developed 3 abnormal personalities. We first run into her as Typhoid Mary when she was hired by the Kingpin to be an assassin. During this time, we see her battling with Daredevil and romancing Matt Murdock. It didn't take long for Daredevil to learn that she had some mental issues, and that she would unrelentingly attack him on multiple occasions. This love-hate relationship is notable because Mary is a superpowered mutant with low-level telekinesis and pyrokinesis. This is another great example of how love is not so easy for our hero, Daredevil. Mila Donovan. Lastly, we want to talk about Matt's first and only wife, Mila Donovan. Matt meets Mila when she was crossing a busy street in New York, and he saves her from an oncoming truck. It turns out that Mila was also blind, and the two of them form a very strong romantic relationship. They eventually are married, but Mila doubts that they should be married because Matt is going through a nervous breakdown from the death of his longtime lover, Karen Page. They continue to stay married until the supervillain Mr. Fear drugs Mila, which causes her to act strangely, and she accidentally kills an innocent bystander by pushing an old man in front of an oncoming train. She eventually is put on trial and institutionalized because of her mental state from Mr. Fear's drugs that caused the death. Matt eventually decided to divorce Mila in order to distance himself from her, though he was pressured to do so by Mila's parents. Mila is still on that same mental institution because of the permanent damage from the drugs. As you can see, Matt has had many colorful love stories throughout his publication history, as it is very important to his character. One thing is for sure, when it comes to romance for Daredevil, it usually turns into tragedy one way or another. If you want to chat about this video, join us on Twitter at ComicStorian. And if you want to enjoy some gaming variety from the same team that brings you ComicStorian, join us over on our gaming channel, Eligible Monster. That is where this whole thing started. I will see you guys next time right here at ComicStorian, and we will be bringing you the love stories of Spider-Man. Though it's going to be a little farther out than we would like it to be from Valentine's Day. Thank you, and have a good evening.
Homecoming is a safe space to reflect on your service and talk about where you see yourself in the years to come. Does anyone have any questions I can answer?
Recently, Marvel Studios announced that they're going to be creating a Netflix television show for Daredevil, the Man Without Fear. So we here at Comic Story decided it was high time to help you get to know this longtime fan favorite superhero. In this installment, we're going to tell you about his origins and talk about his powers and what makes Daredevil the Man Without Fear. Also, special thanks to Jason, who joins us on the show, Indie Bookosaurus, on this channel. Because without him, I don't think I would have gotten most of this information. He's the bigger Daredevil fan than me. Now, Daredevil is one of the original Stan Lee creations from 1964. Like many of the heroes from the Silver Age, his origin takes a seemingly ordinary person and forces them into an extraordinary transformation, making them into a superhero while giving them relatable characteristics. Matt Murdock is certainly one of those individuals. Matt grew up in Hell's Kitchen, one of the toughest crime-ridden neighborhoods in New York City. He was raised by his father, battling Jack Murdock, who was a professional boxer and a hero to the locals of Hell's Kitchen. His mother was assumed to be dead, but we find out later that she ran over the Roman Catholic covet to avoid an alcoholic and abusive Jack Murdock. Despite a rough home life, Matt idolized his father as he instilled in Matt the importance of education and non-violence, hoping to raise his son to not be like him. However, one fateful day, Matt Murdock saw a blind man walking across the street about to be hit by an oncoming vehicle. Matt heroically dashed in to save the blind man, only to be struck in the eyes by a radioactive mutagen that fell off the truck, subsequently blinding him. With Matt blinded, he became an extra burden on his already struggling father, who was barely scraping by as a blue-collar boxer in Hell's Kitchen. Desperate to make more money to assist his ailing son, Jack gets into cahoots with a notorious fixer who is clearly known for fixing boxing matches. Having agreed to throw a fight, Jack Murdock is in the middle of that fight when he knows that his blind son is in the audience cheering him on. So, deciding not to disappoint his son by losing the match, he decides to not throw the fight and instead goes against the boxing fixer's wishes and defeats the opponent. Later that night, the fixer, seeking retribution, murders battling Jack Murdock, and thus the burning desire for justice was born into Matt Murdock. But how can a blind boy ever attain justice against such ruthless gangsters? Well, the accident that Matt went through while taking away his eyesight also enhanced his other senses, such as touch, taste, hearing, and smell. At first, the super senses overwhelmed him, but a mysterious blind ninja master named Stick took Matt Murdock under his wing and he trained him to use his newfound senses. Stick also trained him in many martial arts, which were strangely enough vastly improved with his new senses. After enough training, Matt Murdock decided to take vengeance into his own hands, and he crafted a vigilante costume out of his father's old red and yellow boxing attire. With a suit, super senses, and martial arts, Matt was ready to face his father's alleged killers. The Man Without Fear then took to the rooftops of Hell's Kitchen, seeking the members of the Fixer's gang. After confronting and defeating his henchmen, the Fixer pulled a gun on Matt and suddenly suffered a heart attack and died. But the Fixer was not enough vengeance, so Daredevil decided to track down Angelo, another Fixer lackey, and fought him into a brothel. However, the women there then attacked Matt, and he ended up knocking one of them out of the window, and he believed her to be dead. Though later she would turn out to be none other than Typhoid Mary, one of the many women that will trouble Matt for the rest of his life. Racked with guilt over his actions, he decided to go to Stick for more guidance, but his mentor was shocked at his actions, and he warned against vengeance, abandoning Matt Murdock. Matt eventually followed the wishes of his father and dedicated himself to the pursuit of justice, which led to him attending law school at the Columbia University, and while at the university, he first met the beautiful and mysterious Elektra, and they fell in love. However, a tragic accident with the police led to the death of Elektra's father, and she left Columbia University and ultimately abandoned Matt to loneliness. Upon graduating, Matt landed a job with a major law firm, which would be short-lived because his moonlighting as a vigilante would always make him late for work. During this time, he met Franklin Foggy Nelson, who would become his greatest friend and his law partner. There, of course, was another woman for Matt at this point, Karen Page, who Foggy hired as the secretary for the law firm, Franklin and Nelson. This is the backdrop for the early days of Matt Murdock, who fully embraced his role as Daredevil, the Man Without Fear, the blind guardian of Hell's Kitchen. So let's talk about Daredevil's powers. Matt's disability powers his ability, which is unique to the world of superheroes. The radioactive mutagen heightened all of his remaining senses, which is both a blessing and a curse. His most important ability is his radar senses, which allows him to react to his surroundings and his enemies at an uncanny rate. Stan Lee claims that his radar senses are even more powerful than his fellow New York Spider-Man's spider senses. His training with Stick further heightened his abilities with a proximity sense, which gives him a mastery over his abilities up to 75 meters. His sense of smell allows him to recognize anyone he has ever spent more than 5 minutes with, and his super hearing does all that you would basically believe super hearing could do, including being the ultimate lie detector by hearing the change of a heart rate when someone lies to him. All of these heightened senses make him a truly superhuman. Of course, all of these senses are coupled with the physique of an Olympic athlete who has gone through a rigorous training regimen. His training with Stick has also given him the mastery of many martial arts that would compare to the greatest MMA fighters. He's also forged his own billy club, which is a multi-purpose tool. By day, it's a walking stick that a blind man would normally use, but at night it can be used as a billy club or broken into 2 parts and used as 2 smaller sticks. It also contains 30 feet of cable that can be used to swing around New York City. This can also be used as a grappling hook, and he can also use a hidden trigger to project the cable out of the inside and out to wherever he needs to shoot it. Of course, his abilities can also be crippling. His super senses have been used against him when he became overwhelmed by loud noises and noxious smells. These can dampen his radar senses and sometimes completely bring him to his knees. Lastly, he's not superhuman, so when he's hurt, he actually sustains injuries that can hobble or weaken him. But remember, Matt Murdock is the man without fear, and he will push himself to his utter limits in pursuit of justice, which makes him one of the most endearing heroes of the Marvel Universe. We hope you enjoyed this introduction into the world of Daredevil, and in the future we plan to bring you more videos including his epic storylines and an explanation of Daredevil's colorful rogues gallery. Bear in mind, with the Netflix show coming out, a lot of this is going to be coming out closer to that. So let us know what you think of Daredevil in the comments down below, and remember to click and subscribe to learn more about all of the characters in the Marvel Universe and the DC Universe, and anything else that we bring to you from the Comic Storian channel. I'm Benny, and I'll see you guys next time right here.
So guys, what I've done this time is put the shadow behind the actual cross itself, and if I just get rid of, sorry, no, bring back that layer now, you can see the cross as obviously behind him.
Get started.
The angel there, and I'm going to be working on the angel.
A hero who was blinded at a young age by radioactive chemicals that piqued his other senses to superhuman levels, as well as granting him a radar sense. The question is, how much can Daredevil see despite his blindness?
Wrong playlist, but as you can see behind there, the angel, just again, we'll get rid of the layers. See the original image, and what the cross I'm trying to create is there. So I have to sort of consider that I'm going to leave that as a gap and maybe delete that later with using the circle tool. But for now, we continue on with the cross that we were doing by removing that layer again.
Finally getting a series on Netflix, and I think it's time for you to hear one of the greatest Daredevil stories ever, Daredevil Yellow. This story isn't so much a full story arc with completion, but it is a great retelling of his first years as Daredevil, and a good way to understand his background if you want to get involved in Daredevil comics today. Now, the origin for Daredevil, while known, is not widely spread. Matt Murdock was around the age of 15 when a radioactive substance fell from an oncoming vehicle. While the chemicals took his eyesight, the exposure to the radioactive materials heightened his remaining senses beyond normal human abilities. His father, a boxer known as Battling Jack Murdock, supported him, and he ensured that Matt received the greatest education that his money could buy. He didn't want anything to hold his son back. So eventually, Matt Murdock went to law school where he met Franklin Nelson, but all of his friends called him Foggy. The day they met, Matt and Foggy were inseparable, and they quickly became roommates. Now let's begin our story. Daredevil is lost in his own thoughts as he runs through the streets of Hell's Kitchen. Dear Karen, just when I think it's going to get easier, I close my eyes and I see you in my arms. It's as if a hole were torn open in the center of my chest. After a while, it starts to close up. Then somebody has a laugh that sounds like you. or they're wearing your perfume, and it tears the hole wide open again. I don't feel like eating. I find it hard to concentrate. I can't do my job, Karen. I can't live my life. It's gotten so bad now that Foggy is worried, and as you may remember, when Foggy gets worried, he starts to look for solutions. So he said, I should write you a letter about how I'm feeling and get it all out. I've decided it's not the worst idea in the world. I'm not sure what I should be writing you about, but I thought if I went back to the beginning, you could help me find the man without fear again. So let's go to the beginning, listeners. Matt and Foggy spent their days in classes, studying and getting their degrees, while his father, battling Jack Murdoch, would fight the fights and aim for the heavyweight championship belt. His father would take the hits, get slammed down on the mat, but the measure of a man is not how long he can stay standing, but how quickly he gets back up. And battling Jack Murdoch was always known to get back up. He would always end the fight. But there's one thing that Matt didn't know his father was doing, and his father wasn't proud of doing it. He was fighting in fixed matches. He was being paid and groomed to win the matches. All of the other fighters were paid to take dives in the ring. Eventually, Jack had had enough of working for the two men known as the Fixer and Slade, and he decided that he was done. He wouldn't fight anymore. So he gave Matt his bright yellow boxing robe and he told him to remember the good times because he was going to quit that night. But that night, Matt heard a gunshot and he ran down the street to find his father dead in an alley. Matt only remembered a few things from that night. The smell of Old Spice, the smell of his father's blood, the smell of pistachio nuts. Matt and Foggy tried to get the case handled properly. They did the whole thing by the book. But the only evidence that they had were the pistachio nuts, and Slade was known for eating those. But since there weren't any weapons, not even on the nutshells, the Fixer and Slade were allowed to walk. Matt demanded to know if the judge was bought off. How can he let them walk? But Foggy helped Matt keep his cool, and they both left. Matt graduated, and he let the law run its course, but the case dragged on so long that eventually everyone forgot about it, and battling Jack Murdoch was just another unsolved case. But Matt didn't forget. So he altered his father's boxing robe and he got out a billy club and he trained. He had read about the superheroes like Spider-Man and Fantastic Four, but they handled the superpowered foes, the world-ending crises. They needed someone to handle the low-level criminals, and it was time for Daredevil to enter the ring. He made quick work of the local thugs and the gangs. He wanted to know the location of the Fixer, and no one was going to get in the path of the Daredevil. His journey took him to the worst parts of Hell's Kitchen, but eventually he trapped Slade in the old gym that his father used to train in. Slade tried to tell him that he had no idea about battling Jack the Fixer, but Daredevil's hearing is so good that he was able to hear Slade's heartbeat, and he could tell that he was lying. So he takes Slade's gun and he holds it to his head. You will testify. Using the leads that Slade gave him, Daredevil followed the Fixer's locations and he tracked him by the smell of his cheap cigars. It drew a line in his head straight to the Fixer. But the Fixer was older and he had heart problems. So as Daredevil chased him into the subway, his heart gave out. As the subway car went by, Daredevil stood over the man who had murdered his father. He had become the man without fear, a name that Karen would give him much later in his career. The police arrived on the scene and they asked him who he was. So he told them his name is Daredevil. And he explained what happened and then he offered to bring them back to Slade so that Slade could serve his time in prison. Matt felt good. He finally got his father the justice that he deserved. And now, he even had his own law office with Foggy. Things were looking up for him already, but his life was about to get even brighter with the arrival of Karen Page. She wanted the job as the secretary of the Nelson and Murdoch law firm. But Matt knew the moment that he could smell her perfume, that even without his eyesight, he was looking at the most beautiful woman in the world. Things would begin to move quickly for Matt and Foggy's law practice. They got their first clients, the Fantastic Four, and this, of course, started to get their name out there. At night, Matt Murdoch would become Daredevil, the man without fear. There was just something about jumping across rooftops that made him feel alive. And as he stopped crying, he chuckled at the idea that events so real to him, hiding in the shadows, changing on fire escapes. He planned it all out. He even refrained from removing his mask until the last second, just in case someone walked down the alley to see him changing. And he got closer to Karen as Foggy and Matt would bring her out for pool and drinks, and she got to know the amazing man that was Matt Murdoch. But there was one thing that kept bothering Matt, though. One thing that kept him going out as Daredevil every night. Who was behind the Fixer? Who hired him to kill Jack Murdoch? Sure, he had the killer in custody, but there had to be more to this. So he just kept going out, stopping the muggings, the murders, the low-level crime, until he found himself battling Electro, the man with electric superpowers. Electro was too much for him. At first, he made Daredevil's teeth tingle just being near him, and he even defeated Daredevil in their first meeting. But as Electro left the area, Daredevil remembered the biggest lesson that his father taught him. It's not about how you stay standing, it's about how quickly you get back up. So the blind lawyer with 2 law degrees got back up, and he chased Electro. Who cares if this was the type of villain for the Fantastic Four or Spider-Man? He will find a way to defeat him. And their chase brought them to a theater where Daredevil was getting beat once again. But using his head, he threw his billy club at the sprinklers in the ceiling, shorting out the almighty Electro. Maybe this was the first time that Karen realized that something may be off with Matt Murdock, because as she was looking out the window, she saw Daredevil come swinging by. And while standing there wondering what a superhero was doing in Hell's Kitchen, she pondered what they would do if Daredevil just walked in the door right then. And right then entered Matt. The 3 of them went bowling that night, and Matt actually got his first hug from Karen, and it was the beginning of their relationship, or what would become their relationship. But the next day was more important to Matt at this point. It was the day that his father's killer would receive the death penalty. He wanted to bring pistachio nuts and eat them while watching Slade get the chair. He thought it would be just ironic, but he couldn't do it.
I couldn't do it. That wrote me up a bit. So I'm getting into the textures here, sort of really just sort of pushing on what I can do and what kind of effect I can get from like maybe a stone, what I'm trying to do now.
For other businesses looking to give unexpected experiences, consider where you could pop up that your customers would be delighted.
And again, guys, it's going to be a lengthy one, so bear with me. And if you want to come back and watch it another time, don't forget to hit that subscribe button before you do.
The next day, Karen went missing. She was supposed to be getting papers from one of their clients, but she vanished and she never went home. So Daredevil stood atop one of the largest buildings in the city, and he just listened. There was a lot of noise in the city, and it took him a minute, but eventually he heard it. He heard her call out, "Mr. Murdoch." He followed the sound of her voice until eventually he found the right building, and inside he found Karen locked up and the owl gone. She was crying, so he showed up and he told her, "I'll help you, miss." Daredevil grabbed the bars, and sensing their weakest points, he bent them, allowing her to get out. He carried her to the ground and he held her close, even though it didn't occur to him that this close, she might be able to tell who he was. He told her, "Karen, get to the police," leaving her to guess how he even knew her name. But before she could ask him, the owl returned, and he picked up Daredevil, flying him through the city. Daredevil kicked him square in the jaw, forcing the owl to flee the scene, but Daredevil threw his lion onto the owl's feet, and he went for a ride with him. Eventually, the 2 men fell into the bay, and Daredevil lost sight of the owl, but he was fine, and Karen was safe now. So everything was just going to be okay. The next day, Karen was telling Matt all about the dreamy superhero who saved her the night before, when they get a phone call stating that they are the state-appointed attorneys for the Purple Man. When Matt and Karen arrive, the Purple Man tells them that their services won't be needed, and he asks the guard to let him out. He then takes Karen with him, thanking Matt for bringing such a lovely lady to the prison for him, and he walks out. Matt quickly slips into his Daredevil uniform, and he follows after them. But Purple Man took Karen to a hotel room where he just told them to let him in and told the police to go away. But Daredevil comes barreling through the door, knocking over the Purple Man. Purple Man then tells Karen to go jump off the balcony so he can get away, but Daredevil saves her, and he lowers her to the ground slowly. As they're getting to the ground, she looks at Daredevil and she thanks him for once again saving her, and she comments about how he should make his costume all red, because she likes red. They land on the ground level just as the Purple Man comes out the front door of the hotel, and the Purple Man turns to the police to tell them to stop Daredevil, but Daredevil just knocks the awning off of the roof and he covers Purple Man up. Daredevil looks at the police and he tells them to just go ahead and leave Purple Man underneath the tarp, and they should be okay. Then he takes off, allowing Foggy to get Karen back to the law offices. That evening, Karen asks Matt and Foggy if she could just leave early, because she has a date with Mr. Daredevil. He's going to show her the city that night. This is how Daredevil went from being a man who was just avenging his father to the man without fear and a man in love. And now we come to the end of his letter to Karen, as he continues to swing through the city in his new red outfit. You know the rest of the story too well, Karen. It's been told a lot of ways with many people in my life, but this is the way that I choose to remember it when I think of you. Foggy never found love, and you found out that Daredevil and Matt Murdock were one and the same. And now you were dead. When I began writing to you, I felt as if I'd lost something. But in the end, I'd like to think that I found something. Forgiveness. All this time, I don't think I ever forgave myself for what happened to you. How I carried around inside of me the guilt of knowing that if you hadn't walked into our offices that day looking for a job, you might be alive today. And I've thought a lot about my dad. All he ever wanted from me was to make sure that I didn't grow up to be an uneducated pug like he saw himself. He made his living with his fists, and he called Fogwell's gym his home away from home. The gym offered not only my father, but everyone who walked through the door a chance to make something of themselves. I bought the old place and I fixed it up. I finally found a way that I could honor my father beyond wearing his colors. Do you know how some people say I see when they actually mean I understand? It is like I can see now. A blind man who can see, Karen. It's a rare thing. Like you were. And since we never know what's going to happen tomorrow, I wouldn't trade all of my yesterdays for the time we had together. I miss you, Karen. And I will always love you. And this is where Daredevil Yellow ends. It's intended to show you some of the early exploits of Daredevil and show how his love with Karen began. Now, if any of you guys are wondering where you should go next with Daredevil, make sure you go check out the current run that's happening in comic books. Also, don't forget, as of Friday, Netflix has the Daredevil TV show. If you want to chat about this or any other video on our channel, make sure you follow us on Twitter @ComicStorian, or you can go to our subreddit r/ComicStorian. And we also have a community known as theweeklypoll.net. If you go check out that website, you too can chat with all the other comic book YouTubers and everyone who watches the channels. We have a great community there, and I invite you guys to join us. I'm Benny for Comic Story, and I will see you guys next time right here.
But because Marvel and DC can't get their heads out of their ass and work together, we're never gonna see that shit.
By the way, I love that you paired up two people.
The Punisher is just visiting. Welcome to the Complete Story Series, where I bring you trade paperbacks and single issues and I break them down into digestible bites to help you understand. Then I bring dramatic effect to you. All alterations of the panel text and images are to prevent copyright problems, and all art is owned by respective companies. To celebrate the new Daredevil season, I found an old gem of a comic, Daredevil vs. Punisher. The Punisher, Frank Castle, is looking over a club. Hammerhead is in New York, and he's going to take him out. Frank came into town 3 weeks ago, but he did nothing so that Hammerhead would think that he left and came out of his little ivory tower. Now, after all of that waiting, it's time for him to take the shot and end his stay in New York. Until Daredevil arrives, throwing his baton at Frank Castle, throwing him off. Castle was expecting it, though. He's been playing a game with Daredevil for 2 months now. Daredevil warns Frank to get out of his city right now. Frank continues to shoot at Daredevil, but he keeps dodging and flipping. He knows Frank won't kill him. He then knocks a pistol out of Frank's hands, and he punches him over the face, successfully dropping Frank. That's when Frank hears the police approaching. More people he has no right to kill. He shoots random bullets, and he throws a smoke grenade to distract Daredevil before jumping out the window. Daredevil then runs through the window, but between them and trying to escape in the limo and the sirens, he loses track of Punisher. The next night, at his next spot to get Hammerhead, Frank is welcomed by an unwanted sight. Daredevil is waiting for him. The fact that Daredevil is there waiting makes Frank wonder if the man is actually the devil. How else could he know that Frank was going to be there? Since his hit was interrupted, Frank decides to lay low for a minute. Things have been getting crazy for him in the city since they've now placed a large bounty on his head. So he ends up dropping some junky kid that thought he could take the Punisher before going to a nearby diner where a young girl reminds him of his wife, the one that he lost and started all of this. When suddenly some of Hammerhead's goons come in for protection money. Frank stays incognito, but the kid named Martin sees him there, and he knows who he is. So afterwards, Frank goes to ask Martin where he got the black eye. Martin points him to a local gang that did it. Frank makes his way over there, where he shoots up the whole gang, killing each and every one of them. Martin snuck out, and he watched Punisher do his job. He thought it was awesome. Soon after that, Hammerhead's goons kill an innocent man who may have seen the Punisher. Daredevil meets with the police because they know who did this. It was Hammerhead and his goons. But Frank is already on this. These goons are using him as an excuse for their killing spree, and he won't have it. He follows them both down into the subway where it's conveniently empty, only to discover that it was an ambush and they were waiting for him. Frank takes a shot to his leg, but then he starts taking out one of the gunmen with a headshot, then 3 more shots into the chest of the other men. After a little smoke goes off, Frank uses the confusion to drop the rest of the guys involved except for the one that gets away. With the bullet in his leg, he can't catch the guy.
That's too Christmassy. Let's take that away.
Meanwhile, Martin is
No, that's not what I was trying for.
With the gun, so he explained that he watched the Punisher shoot up a bunch of guys. It was awesome. She knocks a little sense into him, though, that the Punisher is kind of a highly trained individual, and Martin is most likely going to shoot his own foot off. So he agrees to get rid of it if she tells no one. Over in Hammerhead's tower, he sits there with his general, informing them of his new partnership with the Jackal. They need to get a handle on the chaos running in the streets, and the Jackal has a plan for that. But Daredevil has another idea, and the next day he literally breaks the door down to Hammerhead's office, telling him to have his men back off on the streets. Daredevil will handle the Punisher. That's what I was waiting for, Daredevil, but you haven't been doing such a good job. He's killing my friends all over the city, and you're killing innocent people. Daredevil walks up casually, and Hammerhead flips out on his men. How did he get in here? Jackal walks over to the window overlooking the city when he sees the glass in front of him spiderweb, as Frank is taking shots from across the street. Luckily, Hammerhead has bulletproof glass. Seeing that Jackal is now involved, Frank decides that he's going to need something a little bigger. Meanwhile, Martin is at a party where some of the popular girls mock him, and the jocks come over putting him to the ground. The gun that he slipped into the back of his pants falls on the ground, so he panics and he covers it up, allowing them to kick him while he's down. Across town, Frank has tracked down the goon that got away from him, and he has a gun ready to open fire on this guy just as Daredevil comes crashing through the window. He backflips out of the way of Frank's guns, and then he kicks Frank upside the head. He keeps hitting Frank over and over, telling him that we're going to do things my way now, Frank, the right way. He throws his baton over at the goon named Jimmy Sweets, telling Frank they're going to bring him in and make him answer for his crimes. But the door behind them opens, and then there's a hissing, and then fire comes bursting into the room. Jimmy is engulfed in flames, and he jumps out the window as Daredevil grabs the innocent girl that was in the room, and he gets her out of there. Frank is left in the room with the man who lit the place up. His name is Bushwhacker, and he can turn his right hand into a gun or a flamethrower, apparently. Daredevil knows that Jimmy Sweets will be dead from his burns soon, so he decides to leave Bushwhacker to Punisher. Except Bushwhacker comes out and tries to blow up a car next to Daredevil, forcing him to leap in and save the girl while Frank gets into position with an RPG and he fires it at Bushwhacker. Meanwhile, back with Martin, he gets with a friend of his and he explains the situation with the gun, that he had it at a party, but it's not like he was going to use it. Then near them, they can hear a man beating on a girl. So Martin walks out there and he pulls the gun on the guy, forcing him to run off. All of his friends at the party saw him do it, and they were impressed, calling him awesome and telling him that he earned himself a drink. Back with Daredevil and Punisher, Jimmy Sweets is in intensive care, and Daredevil wants answers now. After they do get their answers, Frank decides to call out Bushwhacker. If the Jackals send him after Frank, it's going to get people killed. Frank launches some fireworks to get his attention, and Bushwhacker jumps right in, opening fire on him. But just as they're getting started, Daredevil jumps in, agreeing that they need to end this because 6 people died in that fire. Daredevil and Bushwhacker continue fighting it out, but it's
I can't get this.
Plan. He wanted them to keep each other busy so that he can steal a helicopter. So while Daredevil drops Bushwhacker, Frank drops a bomb on the office building where Hammerhead and Jackal were supposed to be. He then climbs inside to find everyone gone. It turns out Jimmy Sweets taunted, so the police came in and arrested everyone. It's over. Daredevil got what he wanted. All of the gang warfare ended with everyone in prison, but Daredevil screwed Frank over. He needs to kill Jackal and Hammerhead. This is far from over. The next day, Hammerhead is shoving people's heads in toilets, and Jackal takes a moment to inform Hammerhead that he'll be staying here because the Jackal is going to be taking over everything that they've built from the safety of the prison system. Outside, Frank is eyeballing the prison because as far as he's concerned, prison isn't going to save those two. Over with Daredevil, he gets some news that upsets him. Frank Castle supposedly killed a man named Thomas Wynn, a prosecutor that was also a friend of Matt Murdock's. He knows his friend wasn't dirty, and he decides that Frank has finally crossed the line. He has killed an innocent. While this is happening, Martin and his sister are having fun at their restaurant, and Martin is so happy with the way that this gun is making him feel, while his sister doesn't even know that it's the gun that's making him happy, but she knows he's happy for some reason. That's when the guys that work for Jackal's crew come in for their protection money. Martin walks out, and with shaking hands, he pulls the gun out. Not this time. He'll protect his family. The thugs look at him shaking, and they tell him to put his gun down. And then with his shaking hands, Martin opens fire, killing one of the thugs. He then runs to his father's tearful arms. Meanwhile, Daredevil tracks Frank down to a van by the river. And as he gets closer to it, he knows that it's a trap. But he doesn't care. He needs to stop Frank. He bounds into the area, and Frank opens fire on him, but he obviously misses. He yells down, "That was to get your attention, you misguided fool. If it wasn't for you, the city would be a safer place. I'm not going to kill you, Devil.
So don't have to worry too much about that area.
Devil comes in ready to fight. I knew you'd cross the line one day, Frank. He lands and he begins beating up Frank over and over. Frank is a man of guns and straight fighting, while Daredevil has the moves of a ninja. Frank can't beat him one-on-one, and as Daredevil cripples his hand, smashes his head, and throws him down, Frank loses it. He
Still need something behind this, sort of as another layer. So,
complete loss of control. In his bullet spray, he shoots a homeless man in the
no,
stomach.
I'll just put that layer just below it, just as a precautionary level. But I think this is looking right for now. I do want to do a little bit more to it, make it look put some dimensions into it.
Frank wakes up a little while later with bums trying to steal his boots and the police on their way. He stumbles to his van and he speeds off. Daredevil runs into the ER demanding help for the man that was shot. He just ran 12 blocks with a 250-pound man in the rain. All of it Frank Castle's fault. But while in the ER, he runs into a friend of his that informs him what he found when he looked into Thomas, Matt's old friend. Thomas was in fact dirty. He was in trouble financially and he received $200,000 from unmarked locations. Daredevil is stunned. Are you sure about this? The man informs him that he isn't sure about anything anymore. The other night, a 16-year-old kid killed two heavies trying to shake down his palm. Tonight, they killed the father and they put the mother and the sister in intensive care. The joke of it all is that the boy was sent to Pennsylvania to avoid this outcome. Meanwhile, Frank is in his van trying to figure out what to do. He can't believe that he shot an innocent man. He's better than this. But that's when the news comes on and reports on a name that he recognizes from the diner. He decides that he needs to risk going to the ER to check on both his victim and the girl. She reminded him of Maria, his wife after all. He throws on his worst disguise ever and he stumbles into the hospital. First he checks on the man that he shot and feels better knowing that the man will live. Then he decides to check on the girl. But as he's checking on her, Martin arrives to see his sister, and he's shocked when he sees the Punisher himself there. He runs to his sister's side and then he turns to Frank. It's you. I bought the gun to be just like you. That's when Frank hears noise out in the hallway, and realizing that it isn't safe for him or the boy, he drags Martin outside where his hunch is proven correct. The thugs begin opening fire on them. He runs across the street, dragging the boy with him, dodging bullets. And just as the car is about to run them over, Daredevil appears out of nowhere, saving them until Frank realizes the boy has run off on his own. But Frank knows where the boy lives, so he heads to their apartment where he sees the kid crying on the couch. Frank also knows that Jackal's thugs are here to finish what they started. He walks down into the stairway where he drops an explosive down to distract them. Then as they get to the room and kick in the door, Frank opens fire on them. Bullets fly throughout the apartment and Martin is terrified. Just as Frank runs out of bullets, he charges at them, slicing them up with his knife and gutting them. Then he looks outside and he realizes half the police station is out there for this shootout. So he grabs the kid and they make their way to the fire escape when Daredevil welcomes them by kicking Frank through a wall. He tells the kid to stay back and throws a baton, knocking Frank's gun out of his hands. You are capable of one thing, destroying a father dead, a mother and daughter barely hanging on, and an innocent boy burning with a nightmare, all because of you, Frank. They both silently agree this is the end, right here, right now. Down on the streets below, the police make their way to the building and they start entering it. Except Jackal's thugs are still in it and they want the $10 million bounty that's on the Punisher's head. So they open fire on the police and a shootout begins on the stairs while Daredevil and Frank keep going at it. While Frank is getting a few good hits in, Daredevil is too much for him in hand-to-hand combat. So Frank resorts to biting Daredevil in the leg and throwing him to the ground. Then he stomps on him over and over saying, "It's over! It's over!" Daredevil trips him, but Frank grabs him by the throat, slamming him into the wall. No more ballet, no more fancy moves. Daredevil responds by kicking Frank back, and they keep going until Martin finds a gun and points it at Daredevil. Leave him alone! If it wasn't for him, I'd be dead. It wasn't his fault what happened to my family. And then Daredevil, with his hand around Frank's throat, tells Martin, "I'm sorry, son, but he has a lot more to answer for than your family." Things get worse as those thugs that were dealing with the police blow open the door with a shotgun. Martin takes the blast to the chest and he goes down firing a round from his gun that hits Daredevil in the side. Daredevil and Frank begin dropping the thugs. Frank with the gun and Daredevil taking their guns. So it's over. It's finally over. Daredevil slouches against a wall with a bullet wound and the police arrive. Startled by them, Frank turns around with his gun and they open fire on him, shooting him down. Daredevil hits their guns, telling them to hold their fire. Frank pulls himself over to the boy, realizing Martin is dead, and the police all walk in, surrounding him. He doesn't even fight. It's not like he can even raise his arms. Because of his war, the boy's dead. Daredevil went back to doing what Daredevil does. Frank went to prison. Luckily, the prison that Frank went to is the same prison as the Jackal and Hammerhead, because Frank still has a mission to complete. The end. This is a fun little story that I found from 2005 in which these guys actually fought it out. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and if you want to talk to me about the new season of Daredevil or this comic book, follow me on Instagram at ComicStorian, follow me on Twitter at ComicStorian, and don't forget to check out our gaming channel where you can find gaming comic books like Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat, unnecessary censorships where we censor out funny words in video games, and we do Let's Plays. It's called Eligible Monster, and you can find the link down below.
Homecoming is a safe space to reflect on your service and talk about where you see yourself in the years to come. Does anyone have any questions I can answer?
To save a single girl, how far will Daredevil go? Welcome to the Complete Story Series, where I take trade paperbacks and single issues and I break them down into digestible bites to help you understand. Then I read it dramatically back to you. All alterations to the panels, text, and images are to prevent copyright problems, and all art is owned by its respective companies. This is a part of a series of Daredevil solo stories called The Darby Nights. The story begins with a car crash, with a young girl in trouble. Over at the offices of Nelson and Murdoch, Matt Murdoch, also known as the Daredevil, is staying late as a horrible snowstorm is rolling into New York. With his cases wrapped up for the day, he throws on his Stark thermal wear and he begins to walk home. But the heavy snow is causing an interference for Daredevil's radar abilities, and he can't fully see what's going on. It's almost as if he's actually blind. And that's how random muggers were able to hit him over the head, knocking him unconscious. Two random guys. While he's being carried to the local hospital, the young girl needs a heart transplant. And luckily, one was found. But as the helicopter takes off, it begins to get reports of the storm incoming. They don't make it. In 10 minutes from the hospital, they go down somewhere in New York City with the storm barreling down on them. Back in the hospital, some muggers walk in and they demand everyone give up their wallets and their money. Storms bring out the worst in people. Opportunistic rats looking for a free ride. But a random John Doe that was just brought in throws some doctor tools at the guns, knocking them out of the muggers' hands, and then drops all of the muggers. One of the nurses comes over and asks who the man is, and he ignores that question, asking about the young girl that he heard about. The nurse tells him that it's a girl named Hannah, and she needs a heart transplant, but they lost contact with the helicopter bringing the heart. She then walks Matt back to his hospital room, and Matt tells her he can help. And that's when her friend opens up Matt's briefcase and finds the Daredevil costume. John Doe is Daredevil. The two nurses bring Daredevil to the roof, where he asks how much time he has, and they tell him 2 hours until the heart isn't viable. So he jumps off the roof. But there's still a storm going on, and he's still injured, so he misses his landing, bouncing off of the roof and landing in the snow down below. He spits out the snow that landed in his mouth, and then he gets up and begins pushing through the inches of snow in front of him. Can't give up. Never give up. Ever. It's moments like these that Daredevil is reminded that he is one man. His powers aren't speed or the ability to be in multiple places at once. He has to prioritize what he's doing. To save this little girl, he has to ignore the looting, the shattering of wooden glass, the junkie being beaten in an alley, and other happenings in New York. He decides to log a few of these events for later, but right now he has a little girl to save. That requires him to push through this snow and get to that helicopter. While pushing through, the girl's father is trying to come up with an answer to save his daughter. He's a man of power and money, but right now, he's powerless. The two nurses take it upon themselves to delete the security footage protecting Daredevil's identity. And back with Daredevil, he's beginning to suffer from hypothermia. But Daredevil never quits. He can't quit. He eventually finds the helicopter stuck on a structure buried in the snow. He throws his grappling line up and he climbs the structure trying to get up there. That's when he can hear 2 heartbeats, meaning both pilots are in line. He can save the heart and their lives if he hurries. But as he gets up the structure, the helicopter falls off and into the bay down below with negative 30-degree temperature waters. Without even thinking about it, Daredevil dives into the bay to save everyone. The first person he pulls out is the female pilot, and then he throws her on the shore where the local workers are waiting. She tells him her partner is dead, but Daredevil can hear the heartbeat. He knows that there's another way. So he goes back down into the freezing waters, but when he gets to her co-pilot, he realizes that she was right. He is long dead, but he can still hear her heartbeat. Back in the hospital, the doctor explains to the family that they are in luck. They have longer than 6 hours because the heart is being kept active through machines to prevent it from expiring before it can reach its respective donor. It's a new technology that they're trying out. That's the noise that Daredevil is hearing. The heart is in the machine. He pulls it back up on the docks, and now covered in water, he begins his trek back to the hospital. With icicles forming on his nose and his mouth, he keeps trekking. He keeps pushing forward and deciding that he can't be distracted. He has to get right back to the hospital. Nearby, a mugger breaks into a building and he grabs the woman inside. He begins to threaten her with all kinds of unpleasant things until the door is kicked in and there stands Daredevil. Some things can't be ignored. With the snow and the ice still on his face, he tells the mugger to get out of the building now. And once it's just him and the woman, Daredevil collapses on the ground unconscious. The heart transplant, the little girl, and Daredevil all make the news, and they are becoming the meaning of the storm, the thing that everyone hopes works out. But other people decide that this is a great opportunity, and they load up their snowmobiles to go hunting. Daredevil wakes up in a bed and he discovers that the building he just entered is a woman's shelter. The shelter owner took the heart that Daredevil left there, and he began trying to finish the trek to the hospital since Daredevil was passed down. But he won't give up. He needs to finish what he started. So he puts his boots back on.
Sorry guys, we're having a bit of buffer in a minute.
Once again.
Probably because I'm getting a message or something.
Johnny's tracks, trying to find them, man, and help him.
The internet's freaking out. There's a bit of it's getting colder winter times now.
He follows the trail to our warehouse from the
On a coffee here. And again, guys, if you want to leave a comment at any point, feel free to by hitting that live chat button.
But Johnny refuses to give up that location, so they begin beating on him severely. Luckily, Daredevil found him in time, and he throws his baton into the room, taking out the lights. He then knocks out one of the men, and he leans.
Really sort of pushing on things.
He then takes
I don't know what really to put here, to be honest with you. What do you think? Have you done crosses before? I'm trying to do just a sort of basic thing behind it, but have more ado to it than maybe if no, I can't. What I was going to do is put back. There you go. So it's a fair prominent thing. Obviously it isn't the main one, but I focused more on the colours on the actual Grim himself. But on the page, still not going to be the background, so I need to actually put that background in. So that's, I don't know, some sort of basic, what colour? Can't really be black. Could be in like a night sky blue.
Here's the little girl's heartbeat. It's all going to be okay. Like I said, this was a fun little Daredevil story, and if you guys want more Daredevil stories, please give this video a like, and I will look around and see what I can find. I might even do a long-running Daredevil arc. I'm really debating it. If you want to chat about this video or the new season of Daredevil, go ahead and follow me on Twitter @ComicStory and on Instagram @ComicStory. And don't forget about our gaming channel where you can find various gaming comic books. It's Eligible Monster, and you can find the link down below. I'll see you guys next time right here.
How bad does that look now?
For everyone, we can help you plan your return.
Daredevil is haunted by his past, and shockingly, Deadpool's going to help. Welcome to the Complete Story Series. We take trade paperbacks and single issues and we break them down to the adjustable bites to help you understand. Then we read dramatically back to you. All alterations of the panel, text, and images are to prevent copyright problems, and all art is owned by its respective companies. This is one of those older stories from the 90s. Daredevil takes a dive into the city down below. The city is a bit much for him, with its smell sputtering upwards from the festering alleys and every fugitive vibration ricocheting off of the glass and steel canyon. By diving down into the streets below, he's hoping that the rush of adrenaline and the blood rush will clear his head, because Typhoid Mary is back in town. The problem is that Mary is like the sirens from the Odyssey. She can drive a man insane with a few notes from her song and captivate with a glance, a toss of her head. She took Daredevil over the edge. He fell hard. What he did with her, his pride won't allow him to recollect. But it was a long time ago, and he's gotten better now, stronger. With her in town, Daredevil thought that he'd be able to track her down by visiting her old doctor's office. But the smell of dead hit Daredevil even before his radar sense kicked in. Multiple individuals were killed and strung up with ropes from off-site, indicating Typhoid Mary thought about this ahead of time. In the back of his head, Daredevil can hear the sirens warming up to their big number. It's coming soon. Meanwhile, across town, Deadpool just blew up a cab driver's cab with a rocket launcher. He grabs the driver and he holds him up. "You were trying to cheat me! Drive me and my friend around town to rack the price up in your cab." The cab driver finally admits to it after being tormented by Deadpool. "All right, I admit it! I thought you were two dumb hicks from Wisconsin!" The mob begins to form around to watch Deadpool work, and they agree, telling Deadpool things like, "String him up! Run him over with his cab! I'm from Wisconsin, we make cheese." Okay, I don't think the last guy fully understands what was going on. Deadpool lifts the crying man back up, and now mob justice will be served. Noogie! But Deadpool isn't in New York to torment cab drivers. Meanwhile, at the law offices of Sharp, Nelson, and Murdoch, a telegram delivery guy shows up and begins knocking out the guards and marching his way into the building, demanding to see Mr. Nelson. Foggy shows up and asks what's going on, and the telegraph guy reads the message. "Roses are red, windows are glass. Take me to Daredevil or I'll gut you, you fat!" And Foggy's dog growls at Daredevil, interrupting him. Matt Murdock walks in and sees the whole ordeal going down, and he can smell the gun oil, explosives, and latex that is Deadpool. And then using his radar vision, he sees that Deadpool is the delivery guy in disguise. He lets Deadpool drag Foggy over to a window where Deadpool jumps out yelling, "Exit stage right!" And then Deadpool catches a rope and begins to scale the side of the building. At the roof of the building is Weasel, until Daredevil shows up and gives Deadpool a hand getting onto the roof. As soon as Deadpool sees that it's DD, and not Weasel, he tells him, "Hello, DD. So am I the only one who feels awkward or what?" Daredevil isn't amused, and he asks Deadpool why he's here. Deadpool explains that he's trying to get DD's attention because Typhoid Mary is back in town, and she intends on murdering everyone who was looking at her the wrong way. So he figured that he would get a hold of DD so that he could help out an old friend. Daredevil is confused. Friend. Typhoid Mary is no one's friend. The woman is a
I really apologise for any kind of noise you're hearing in the background. I've got maintenance outside, as in the local council's cutting the bloody hedges. Live in a rural area, so it kind of happens every now and then.
Maybe we monsters tend to stick together. Daredevil leaps off the building telling Deadpool he'll bring Mary to justice, and if Deadpool wants to run back up, that's fine. Oh, this is going to be a barrel of laughs. Deadpool says, firing a grappling line. They make their way to the house of the judge that put Mary away, where they both begin their own investigations. Daredevil wonders why his own heartbeat has gone up a few
Right,
minutes. He let a known killer watch his
I've
back.
completely erased everything I've just done from doing that, which I feel much better than what I did before. So let's carry on, I think, and see if I get a bit more of maybe the other separate background. Damn it. It's going to have to go between one of the two layers, so move that layer in between them two and put the actual place where he's standing. So let's find that image again. Get rid of these two.
Then set up Redman. So he asks Mary, now that he's here, is she going to finish him off? Mary tells him that she has some loose ends. And
That one back.
She tells him that Daredevil wasn't the only one who used and abused her. So she's going through murdering all of them. Deadpool cringes. Hey, that wasn't the deal.
And then get rid of that again. And
You
sort of painting where the background where he's actually going to be standing.
You said you were after Daredevil. He's a player, one of us. These other chumps, who else do you plan on whacking? No more
I
civilians.
said fire to myself, didn't I? Yeah, okay. So let's try a bit of a orangey colour. Fiery pumpkin orange.
Deadpool tells Daredevil that Mary spilled the beans. She told him about the judge, the docs, and her next target.
Hot
So if
coal
Daredevil
sort of
follows
thing.
Deadpool, they'll find him. Deadpool takes Daredevil to a building and they scope it outside. Daredevil's trying to decide his next course of action. He can hear the murmur of
think
an
that's
army
looking
inside,
okay.
the clink of guns, blades. There is enough to take on a small country. Deadpool just wants to know who is going to yell spoon as they come charging in. And then regardless of knowing
Make
that
them
it's going
sort
to
of
be a trap,
flames,
he
maybe.
jumps in. They go to town beating down the soldiers, and then Deadpool grabs a gun ready
It's
to
a
open
rock,
fire.
which
until
was
Daredevil
trying to
puts
get the
the
effect
gun,
there.
And he tells them, no, they will not get dragged down to Mary's level. Deadpool informs him that he's kind of had that on lockdown already. True, but if you kill them, it's pro bono, Deadpool. Deadpool blocks another goon before explaining. Do you think I'm a purist or something? I kill a lot of guys for a lot of reasons. Looking at me funny, which you do. Talking down to me, which I've noticed you're prone to do on occasion. And sometimes I like to go up on people for looking like a blind man dressed in a... Wait, that would be you too. Deadpool pauses. Come to think of it, if there's anyone in this room that I was destined to kill, it would be you. Sayonara, sucker! And Deadpool throws a knife in Daredevil's direction. Genie sees the knife coming and he drops to the ground in a hurry to dodge it, letting it land in the stomach of the guy behind him. You're welcome, Deadpool shouts. I aimed for his spleen. Eventually, Dee and Deadpool take out the last of the goons and they run upstairs to meet Mary. As Dee runs into the room, Mary begins blaring music, overwhelming his senses and dropping Daredevil. She walks over and begins kicking Daredevil. How are you? The job? The girlfriend? She keeps hitting Dee until he finally struggles to get up and return the punch. Then it stops.
Apologise, guys. There's seems to be buff as well, which is handy, I suppose. Maybe not.
All of this is about. Daredevil made her.
It does every so often. It sort of depends on what time of day it is or what's actually happening outside. It's like I said, I live in a rural area. And wind, rain, a bit more wind, and your wires fall apart.
I realized it was you, Daredevil. Now accept your responsibility and die. Daredevil stands up. I utterly refuse to accept responsibility for what you've become. How dare you, she shouts. You caused the fatal schism. You made me. Daredevil dodges her, telling her, no, I didn't, Mary. What I did was wrong, but it was an accident. Then he started to respond by hitting her back with his moves. But was I there when you pulled your first trigger? When you took your first life? You made those choices on your own. No, you took my choices away. Bad things happen to everyone, but we all don't lash out at the world because of it. Then Daredevil knocks her out. She hits the ground defeated and begs for Deadpool to kill Daredevil for her. And Deadpool tells her, sorry, kid, it's It's over. He kneels down over her. Time's up, Dee Dee. Good job. Is this the part where you try and escape? No, that'd be cliche. Believe it or not, Redman, this has been one big therapy session for her, and you played your part just fine. You knew that this was going to happen. No, I didn't think she'd go after anyone but you, so there were a few hitches. Deadpool begins to walk away with Mary, and Daredevil asks why he did this. Because Mary was after the wrong demon, and I had to help her see that. Yeah, team! Daredevil grabs Deadpool by the shoulder. I'm not going to let you walk out of here with her, Deadpool. She's a killer. Give it a break, Horn Boy. Dead bodies aside, you got as much out of this as she did. For the first time in your life, you know for sure you aren't a killer. And then Deadpool fired a grappling line and left the scene. Daredevil goes back to the rooftop across from the club, and he reflects on the whole thing. He isn't a murderer. And because of that, he heads home smiling. This is an oldie but a goodie story, guys. And if you want to talk about it, follow me on Twitter @ComicStory and on Instagram @ComicStorian. Or don't forget to check out our gaming channel, Eligible Monster Gaming, where you can find gaming comic books and various other things like Let's Plays and unnecessary censorship. Yeah. You can find the link to that down below. I'll see you guys next time right here. Daredevil is a new trainee and a new gang to fight against. And the devil handle it. Welcome to the Complete Story Series, where I take trade paperbacks and single issues and I break them down into the decimal bites to help you understand. And then I reduce your amount of back to you all alterations, the panels, text, and just art to prevent copyright problems, and all art is owned by respective companies. Don't forget to support this great industry by purchasing these comics yourself online or at your local store. He is Matt Murdock. He is Daredevil, and he is not a servant. On the Manhattan Bridge in New York City, a group of 10 Fingers thugs watch a man as they strap cinder blocks to his feet and drop him into the river below. Behind them is Daredevil. He jumps off the bridge, landing in the water. Then he takes a look and he tries to listen for something, a heartbeat, but it's faint. He can't pinpoint where it is. Daredevil uses his hook to try and find the man, and that's when he hits a car, and he can finally see him. He quickly swims back up and he cuts the ropes, bringing the man to the surface. The man then tells them that they could just leave. No one would know that he was rescued. Daredevil tells them, yeah, we could, but they never learned. Before jumping back up to the bridge. The thugs need to make sure that Billy drowned, and they're kind of curious if Daredevil drowned with him. When suddenly, crack! One of the thugs gets slammed in the face by one of Daredevil's batons. Daredevil begins fighting off the thugs, but that's when one of the men fires a gun at Daredevil, grazing him, and he asks Daredevil, "What'd you think? You could take us all out alone?" Actually, no. And that's when the man has his arm twisted around. All of the thugs begin to get hit, and they can't seem to see anything. Daredevil can see the person and look at him go, but the thugs have no idea where he's at. After all of the thugs are defeated, Daredevil asks the man what he tells Daredevil, I had to get batteries. My powers aren't free like yours. But Daredevil tells Blindspot that his aren't either. Before leaving, Daredevil tells Blindspot to meet up with him tomorrow for training at the usual spot, and then he zips home. Later in Foggy's apartment, Daredevil treats his wound from the gunshot. This is the only place that Daredevil could think to bring Billy for safety. Billy is the man that he just saved. And that's when Foggy asks him, would he actually be safe now? Even though everyone else doesn't remember Daredevil's name due to something that he erased, Foggy does. And Foggy tells Daredevil that he will no longer be his safe haven. This is the last time that he helps him. Never again. The next day, Matt goes to work. Sitting in his elevator shaft,
that's annoying.
He notices someone coming. She's wearing heels and has a smell of oranges. So
I could shuffle that around, actually. Give me... No, I couldn't. Oh, no.
She comes in to tell him there's someone here to see him. The man is Billy Lee, the man that Daredevil rescued from the bridge. He's a little unsure if he should testify, even though Daredevil kind of told him he should. And Matt tells him that he doesn't care what Billy thinks. Matt tells him that he's going to testify unless he wants all of the recent charges on Billy to fall directly on him with no defense. Billy can either testify against 10 Fingers or end up in jail, so if Matt was him, he would side with the guy that saved him from the bridge. Over in Chinatown, the thug from before tells one of 10 Fingers' men that he failed only because Daredevil showed up. The thug wants another chance. Let him give 10 Fingers 2 of his fingers. But one of the men there stops him, telling him that if 10 Finger wants them, he will ask. And another one of 10 Fingers' men then asks, what's the next step? 10 Finger wanted to avoid something this public, but this should send the right message. So he orders Samuel to kill Billy. And kill the lawyer that's representing Billy as well. The next day, Matt sits with the rest of the legal team, telling them about 10 Fingers. 10 Fingers has been promising salvation, a place to keep immigrants safe. All he needs is just everything they own to do it. He's been taking the congressional funds to build a power base, taking over gangs, extorting, killing, and basically a real criminal. But today that ends. Matt has a key witness that will bring this whole operation down. Just outside of the courthouse,
this is a bit of a stab in the face, having to get rid of all of this.
The assassins begin to sneak in. During the time that it takes for Matt to get downstairs, the assassins manage to get to Billy before him. So when Matt finally goes down to get his witness, Billy decided not to testify. He give it a better offer. Over at the Church of Sheltering,
still use that blue, but I need to be in the right place.
If he remembers correctly, he orders Samuel tells them that it wasn't the right time. Killing them would draw attention right back to the church. Ten Fingers sees the logic behind it, but still, order is an order. The Eights understand that, which is why Ten Fingers has given them a piece of his power. Samuel's mother asked for this
Get it to do that. Maybe. Oh, I know what I'm doing here.
Later that night, Daredevil and Blindspot train at their usual spot. As the two fight, Daredevil tells Blindspot that he needs to learn how to talk while fighting, but Blindspot tells him that his power is being invisible. Wouldn't that defeat the purpose? Daredevil then throws a spear right next to Blindspot, which is totally unfair. So unfair that Blindspot's going to tweet about it. As Blindspot continues, Daredevil jumps in to take the battery pack off his suit, exposing him. The two then begin to talk, and Blindspot is worried because Daredevil told them to let the lawyer do his thing. But things don't seem to be turning out.
Can't seem to cover that in.
Blindspot goes on to tell him that he is also an immigrant, so he knows the people in Ten Fingers.
Oh,
And Ten Fingers cult
got ya, right.
they normally would do. Ten Fingers is planning something. Blindspot is going to go
I have to put a layer underneath all of that to then give it a dark behind. Right, got ya.
Ten Fingers has already given one hand and none fingers their power. Daredevil jumps down into the church and he tells them that they need to stop. But Ten Fingers tells him that he needs to leave. What he cares about is that Ten Fingers stole that power from someone. The people that he took it from will want to take the power back. Before Daredevil can finish his speech, arrows shoot out at the two of them that just received their power. Behind them is the organization The Hand. They want what was stolen back. The Hand then begins to surround everyone, including Daredevil and Ten Fingers. They are a supernaturally enhanced ninjutsu murder cult, here to take back the power that Ten Fingers stole from them. Daredevil tries to tell Ten Fingers to get everyone to safety, but Ten Fingers tells Daredevil that they're fine.
Can't fill the page for some reason.
Ten Fingers then tells the Eights to handle the problem. Daredevil watches. He could just let the gangs fight it out.
I'm pressing delete like
He's
a
not going to
fool.
let anyone die if he can stop it. At least Blindspot is safe, keeping himself invisible. But while Daredevil is worrying about Blindspot, he takes a kick to the face. The ninja then asks him why he is now with Ten Fingers, but Daredevil tells him that he's not. He just doesn't want to let them kill Ten Fingers. The ninja goes on to tell him that Ten Fingers was once a part of the Hand until he betrayed them. Now he's marked for death, and anyone helping him is also marked for death. Everyone continues fighting something ninja.
I kind of like that.
So Daredevil turns it around.
If you can see what I can see, that's almost dark eyes in the sort of black. So that's all. Let's take a little bit of inspiration from that a minute. Might be able to save that as just a layer and save it somewhere else.
Daredevil tries to tell everyone that they are now all targets, but Ten Fingers goes on to tell him to believe what he wants. You will forgive him. Later, Daredevil says hello to the invisible Blindspot, and Blindspot asks him if he'll ever tell him how he's able to see him while he's invisible. Daredevil tells him probably not. Blindspot then goes on to ask who the Hand is, and Daredevil explains. He then tells Blindspot that while he was in school, this is getting serious now, so Blindspot is officially graduating. The next day, Matt sits in the office of his boss, getting punished for failing to get Billy to testify. But once Matt leaves, Ten Fingers is waiting for Mr. Murdoch. Later that night, Daredevil starts clearing out some of the thugs when someone asks him if everything's okay. The man below talking to Daredevil is Steve Rogers. This is after he lost his super soldier serum and stopped working as Captain America, allowing Sam Wilson to take over. But he does still help out some of his friends. Daredevil put in a call to Steve, but before they can get to what Daredevil wanted, Steve asks if Daredevil can help him out with something. Earlier, back at Matt's office, with Ten Fingers sitting there, he asked Matt if he was a man of faith. Matt tells him that he used to be, and Ten Fingers tells him that they used to be alike once, only focused on themselves. Long ago, he was with an evil organization, a cult that communed with demons in exchange for strange abilities. He used to do terrible things, but now he believes in redemption. So he stole as much power as he could from the evil organization, and he now goes on to save lives. He then goes on to quote the Bible and the Quran about how he sees himself as a savior to these people. So why are the holy books acceptable, but not Ten Fingers? Because you're not God. As Ten Fingers begins to leave, he tells Matt that he is a hero, a savior. And if he is a god, what would that make Matt? Back with the job that Daredevil is helping Steve Rogers with, he begins to think about those words that Ten Fingers said when they met up in Matt's office. Matt has always thought that he's using his powers to be Daredevil and do the acts of God, do what God wanted him to do. But that's what Ten Fingers thinks he's doing with his powers. And Ten Fingers is a monster. So what does that mean Daredevil is? Over at the church, Samuel wants to talk to his mother in private, one of the Inks, about everything that's happened. The Hand attacking the church, and that he's only here for his mother. She tells Samuel that she will protect him using the power that Ten Fingers gave her. He too could have it if he would have just killed Bill. But he asks her a very legit question. Since when is the church about killing people? She tells him it's always been about protecting their own, protecting the community. They have no one. They have Blindspot, Samuel says. Blindspot, he's no one. He works with Daredevil to take them to church. Hopefully, she will be the one to kill him, his mother says. Just then, Samuel asks her if she wants to fight Blindspot because he's right here. Back at the job that Daredevil is helping Steve with, they finally wrap up, and Steve decides to thank Daredevil for helping him out. Then he asks, what did Daredevil need? He's the one that called Steve. Daredevil tries to tell him about how he made everyone forget that he was Matt Murdock, but he couldn't bring himself to break that news to Steve. Over at the church, as Samuel tries to tell his mother that they can help people without 10 fingers, the hand are starting to return. Below everything, something rises. It's something called the fist, a half-dead beast infused with the evil energies of the hand. As the fist begins tearing through the people, Samuel's mom asks if she should get the rest of the 8 and kill it. The 10 fingers tells her no. He has sealed the temple door so that no one may leave. He wants everyone to watch. 10 fingers prepares for the fight, and Blind Spot checks his phone, and then he jumps down to help the people. Over at the attorney's office, Matt begins to hear something. Daredevil, the church. Daredevil, the church. After hearing a woman mention it, he asks why she said that. And she tells Matt that she follows Blind Spot on Twitter, and he told his followers all to say that, realizing what Blind Spot was trying to do. And Matt knows that it's his cue to bring Daredevil out. Back in the church, 10 fingers readies himself, telling the fist that his fate has come calling. But all the fist can respond with is 10 fingers opens fire on him, shooting his own followers in the process. And the fist shields himself with the bodies and then throws them back at 10 fingers, knocking him down. Before the fist can attack, 10 fingers begins giving parts of his powers to all of his followers, turning the fist's attention onto them. And then as the fist begins to swing at them, a hook is shot through the fist's weapon. Daredevil calls out, telling everyone to run for it. He then jumps up, wrapping a cable around a beam, and he swings down to put a boot to the fist's face. After knocking the fist down, 10 fingers begins to run past his 8. They ask him what happened, and 10 fingers tells them they killed them. They ask who? The fist or Daredevil? No, you idiot. The congregation. They saw my failure. Daredevil tries to bring attention to himself so that Blind Spot can get the congregation out of the way. Everyone begins to run out of the room, and Blind Spot tells them that they will be safe over here. One of the members asks, 10 fingers said that he would save them. He lied. And Blind Spot tells them that he knows that they will be safe because he was once one of them. He knows most of them, and he won't let anything happen to them. He hopes. Blind Spot then turns around, and the 8 are there to kill the congregation. Blind Spot tells them, even his own mother, that if they want to kill the congregation, they're going to have to go through him, and he will protect them. Daredevil continues to fight with the fist, and Blind Spot begins to fight with the 8s, all the while 10 fingers trying to escape. He can start a new congregation. He is the chosen one. He is the savior. That is until he hears a voice. That's beautiful. You are beautiful. 10 fingers calls out to it, telling them to wait. There's always room for improvement. Daredevil remembers the lore behind the fist. It can think, but it's not alive. So he won't feel bad when he retracts his cables that are wrapped around the fist, killing it. Daredevil then begins to chase after 10 fingers, but when he opens up the door, he can sense that something happened to him. Downstairs, the 8 begin to close in on Blind Spot, and they look down at their own chest, seeing that they've been stabbed through the backs. Blind Spot then looks up to see his mother walking away after she did it. Why did you? He asks. But as she walks away, she tells him that she believes in him. From now on, his own mother is dead. Outside, the police arrive to help the members of the church, and Daredevil and Blind Spot watch. Blind Spot asks Daredevil what happened to 10 fingers, and he tells them that 10 fingers is dead. The hand have taken back what he stole. Blind Spot then looks at Daredevil and asks, are we done? Done? My friend, there is no such thing. This job doesn't end. And that is the end of Daredevil 1 through 5. If you want to continue the story yourself, go pick up Daredevil number 6. And if you want to chat about me about this comic or any other, follow me on Twitter at ComicStorian or on Instagram at ComicStorian. And don't forget to check out our gaming channel where we bring you gaming comic books every Friday at Eligible Monster.
That seems to be the end of that playlist, and looks like it's 12:30 now. No, it's 1 o'clock. So we've been at it for a while. I've only really got the background done. I'm going to sort of finish up the fire effect. It's just going to be a background, so I'm going to leave it at that at the moment and start putting in the skeleton, because that is what the main focus in. So take some of the focus off the background, because I just can't get that cross right. Maybe I'm not looking at the right images. I just can't block it out properly for some reason. Maybe it's my personal skill and I need to practice more maybe, but taking me a while to get there. I think it's time to put that skeleton in now. Just a second while I pick a playlist. Continue on where we were yesterday. Nightwing, if there's any left. There's quite a few left on that one, so let's continue where we left off.
Running
thing to gain
No.
when you hear about Fallout 76 with the Perception Bubblehead.
The top agents are out to kill Grayson in Agent 1. Can they do it? Welcome to the Complete Story Series, where I take trade paperbacks and break them down with a digestible bite to help you understand. Then I introduce dramatically back to you all alterations of candlesticks and images, the art to prevent copyright problem, and all art is owned by its respective companies. This is our continuing series on Dick Grayson, which leads to Nightwing Rebirth. Unlike many of the other stories, what leads to Nightwing Rebirth is a series of single issues, each handled like a single episode in a TV show that links together in an explosive ending. When we last left off, Grayson had completed his original mission. He had discovered Batman was gone, and he decided that he would return to dismantle Spiral from the inside. That plan had been placed into motion as he was now trying to pit the spy organizations against each other and is right now working for Checkmate. But while Grayson is getting his plans moving, Helena, the leader of Spiral, has figured out that Grayson has gone rogue, and not only that, he convinced Agent 1 to join him in dismantling Spiral. So she contacted the Syndicate, the top agents in the field of spy work, to remove those thorns from her side. But while Grifter is briefing the Syndicate so that he can head out on the mission, Agent 1 and Grayson are stalking another enemy agent, an agent from the organization shaped Frankenstein. Things are going fine until Frankenstein throws undead monkeys at Agent 1. Grayson was talking to him on the radio, and that's when he suddenly hears, "Cree! Cree! Cree!" Please tell me you're just watching Alvin and the Chipmunks. Again, he swings into action and sees Frankenstein charging into his victim while still pinned underneath the undead monkeys. Frankenstein throws Grayson aside, and realizing what they're up against, Grayson activates his new weapon, and he sucker punches Frankenstein with a hard light construct. Tiger throws one on himself, and the two of them begin to hit Frankenstein over and over, pushing him into a wall until they get him boxed in, and then water pours on him and freezes him into place. Then out walks their new partner, Maxwell Lord of Checkmate. He asks for his weapons back, and he agrees that the deal has now been made. They brought him Frankenstein, so he'll help them in their battle against Spiral. The two of them head to Mexico, where they finally sit down and talk a little. Grayson tells them the story of summer camp. He would be sent to this camp where all of the other students from nearby schools were also going. People who never knew each other would all arrive at the same time. Then they would all magically become best friends within hours, even though they were complete strangers. Something about the fact that everything was new and exciting made those friendships more intense. That's what being a spy is like for him. Like summer camp. They both stand up and Grayson turns to Tiger. "You can call me an idiot now, Agent 1. I have made my distaste for your history and many of your present actions quite clear. But know this, as I have come to know you, I have to admit to myself that I may not like working with you. I indeed like..." And then before he can finish, Tiger is punched across the face by a mini person. The mini person then grows to a full-size person and is pink. Grayson tries to punch her, but his force is thrown back at him. And then Grifter arrives, grabbing Grayson by the arm and throwing him to the ground. They flip around a little bit, and Grayson asks him, "How did Helena get you on board, Red Hanky?" Meanwhile, Tiger is fighting the pink person as she grows, shrinks, and bounces them around. "I told Helena that I was getting bored fighting against her easy agents, so she sent a toy that throws my own might back at me. Genius," he says as he hits the ground. Back with Grayson, he is constantly dodging Grifter as he fires his guns at him. That is until Grayson figures out that Grifter is following his movements telepathically. So he throws a baton against the wall. It bounces around, throwing off Grifter, and as it comes for his head, he shoots it out of the sky. But that was a distraction, as Grayson kicks him on the side of the head and disarms him. The two of them continue their dance on the roof, and Grayson throws his batons against the wall, bouncing them down ahead of them until he pins down Grifter. Then, after a short while, he shows up with Tiger, and his eyes bleeding. He tried to use his hypnos to read Grifter's mind, but when Grifter resisted, he forced it. And that's when he tells Tiger the news. The Syndicate know all about Spiral, Helena, and AutoNets and the plan to cause chaos within the world. So why did they come after us? Tiger wants to know. Because Helena hired them, and they want to keep up appearances. The truth is, the spy wars are beginning, and it is now Grayson, Tiger, Checkmate, and the Syndicate against Helena and Spiral, and it's about to get messy. If you've been with us for this entire Grayson storyline, we are finally coming to the end of it, as Grayson is going to move forward to end Spiral. But what is going to happen to Helena and Tiger? You're going to have to stick around to find out, and if you're not subscribed, you're going to have to subscribe. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter at ComingStory and Instagram at ComingStory, and I'll see you next time right here.
Or if you're enjoying what I've drawn so far, and you've learned a little bit by looking at the tools which I'm using and the different effects that I'm trying to get from what I'm doing, definitely hit that subscribe button today, and all day I'll be here doing and finishing off what I'm doing for this picture, as tomorrow is another month and we're going to be continuing on doing some drawings, but with a difference. I'm going to be doing something a bit more from the
experiences, consider where you could pop
fireworks sort of end of it things, because we're going to do a little bit of thing about Guy Fawkes, or maybe the impression of Guy Fawkes, which is V for Vendetta.
decisions about what our customers want and what our customers need. So we'll be looking to add further vegan options and gluten-free options and more vegetarian options.
It's making me feel hungry, even though I'm not vegan, and I wouldn't prefer not to eat that food, but it is edible by me. Right, it's 12 o'clock, and nearly 1 o'clock now, and I've forgotten to eat lunch, so I may have a munch on the way through, so if you hear a crisp packet open, I do apologize.
It's time to conclude the Grayson spy story.
I might go and get myself another cup of tea because my coffee's nearly run out. That won't be until I've completely covered and put in the skeleton, so then I can come back to it and work on the shading and things like that.
Art to prevent copyright problems, and all art is owned by respective companies. We've been doing the single issues of Grayson because that's how the comics are set up. But this time, I honestly just want to finish the story so that we can move on to Nightwing Rebirth in the first arc where he fights the Court of Owls. For those of you who have been following us since the beginning, thank you. And for those of you who are joining us for the first time in this epic finale, here's the fast breakdown. Grayson was thought to be dead and he was unmasked as Nightwing. Batman saved his life and asked him if he would go undercover to stop Spiral. He did, but when he went home, Batman was missing in action. So he went back undercover himself to stop the organization Spiral. In order to stop them, he enlisted the help of multiple spy organizations, bringing us spy wars. Now, Grayson and Tiger are planning to end this. After receiving a tip from Grayson that Leviathan was on their way, Helena and Dr. Ness began to get the students of the finishing school down into the lower level shelters. As the two of them make their way back outside, Helena is attacked by Leviathan, and King Faraway calls out to execute Omega Attack. One by one, the members each shoot and beat Helena down to the ground. And just as Faraday begins to gloat, he is stopped by Grayson, punching him in the face, saying, "Sorry, were you still going to go on?" Grayson and Agent 1 begin fighting off everyone, while Grayson tells Dr. Ness to go ahead and get Helena the medical attention that she needs. They're going to need to be preoccupied for a bit. Over at the Skull Girls dorm, Agent Zero tells the girls that they're going to have to help her save the school. Agent Zero is the individual who is trying to turn Spiral into an organization of chaos and destruction. And she explains to the Skull Girls that the people fighting out there, Agent 37, 1, and 8, they're all traitors, and Matron Bertinelli is dead. Everyone else alive is working for Dr. Nets, and they're really working for a secret organization called Leviathan. Leviathan is another top-secret spy organization that has been brought together to fight against Spiral, to give Spiral something to battle against for ages and ages. But now it's about to get messy. One of the Skullgirls asks Agent Zero why they should trust her, and Agent Zero tells them that they have never given them anything. She has come bearing gifts in the form of weapons. While Dr. Nets begins to prepare Helena for surgery, machines begin to cover Helena's body, and Spider tells her that the matron has returned to the womb. Dr. Nets says that Helena needs surgery, but Spider tells her that she isn't the only healer within the web. Besides, right now, she needs to sit at Spiral's center and welcome her father home. She then calls up Agent 8, stating that she is now in command of Spiral. The awakening is happening sooner than expected, so engage the attackers. A short while later, Agent 8 is slowly backed into a corner by the Skullgirls after receiving a beating. Agent 8 says that she couldn't tell them how long she's waited for this day, but all of the girls then draw their weapons, telling her she must have forgotten who lives here. They are the Skullgirls. And Agent 8 responds with, "Well, you must be confused, because really, you're just a bunch of corpses." And she pulls the pin on a grenade. Outside with Grayson and Agent 1, he calls out that there are innocent kids in there. But Faraday tells him that there are no innocents here. But whoever did that had nothing to do with us. Grayson calls him a liar, but as Agent 1 is pinned to the ground, he tells him, "No, I'm telling the truth. It's her." As smoke begins to settle, Agent 8 walks out standing over the bodies of the Skullgirls. Agent 1 then gets back up stating, "Stay out of this fight. This is all his." And Grayson says, "Neither of them stand a chance alone. But let me make a call to Mr. Fight." A door begins to open, and through it, Midnighter walks out stating, "Hey, I'm not the romantic type, but I could kiss you right now, Grayson." Grayson runs over to check on the Skullgirls, and they all jump up calling him a traitor. One of the girls states that Agent Zero says goodbye, and Grayson tells them no wonder why there's an outbreak of crazy. She's the enemy. You're not fighting for Spiral, you're being used by Leviathan, Skullgirls. Soon Grayson manages to convince the girls to stand down just as Agent 1 finishes his fight by shooting Agent 8, his old partner. Grayson meets back up with them, telling him, "Score 1 for the good guys." And Agent 1 tells him, "Yeah, good guys." Back down at Dr. Nets' lab, Agent Zero says hello to her sister. Agent Zero and Dr. Nets are both children of the original evil Nets. Dr. Ness tells her, yes, I can hear you very loud and clear, and I will miss you when you're gone, sister. Luca, who also goes by the name Agent Zero's eyes widen up, and in a fit of rage, she headbutts Elizabeth, also known as Dr. Ness, stating, when she's gone, I'm the chosen one. I'm Agent Zero. The two sisters begin to fight and struggle with each other, and then they stop, and a voice tells them, don't stop on my account, daughters. They look up to see Helena standing, telling them to fight harder. Helena then tells the girl that she is Dr. Daedalus. But Elizabeth says, don't you see? Our destiny, it's all been a trick. The crown was never ours. It was his. Otto wears the crown to fly close to the sun, but fear not. They can still serve the coming cataclysm if they are willing. Outside, as the fighting settles, Grayson says they need to find Helena. But Agent 1 tells him it's too late, she's gone. The return of Dr. Daedalus is at hand, and Helena is his chosen vessel. Dr. Daedalus is the father of both Dr. Ness and Agent Zero, also known as Elizabeth and Luca, and he is the one that orchestrated the entire Leviathan versus Spiral situation, and he put his brain into the computer so that he can live forever, so that he can be reborn in an individual eventually, so that he can bring the end of times, the cataclysm. The entire thing was so that he would not get bored. That's it. I had to explain it, lay it out for you so you'd understand. But let's go ahead and move on. Back in the lab, Dr. Daedalus tells them that he will give them one choice, kill or die. Now, if one of them would like to join him, he has needs beyond this cellar. Luca pulls out a gun, repeating, one of us? Grayson tells Agent 1 to tell him what's happening, and Agent 1 tells him, Spider has been playing us all. It could never be allowed to win, but I have higher allegiances than you, Grayson. And Midnighter says, hate to be the one to tell you. Pretty sure your friend works for Checkmate, Grayson. This really isn't my scene, so I'm going to be going now. And Agent 1 tells Grayson to stand down. This is Checkmate's operation now. Agent 1 has been a double agent this whole time! Soon, Agent 1 gets word to follow Dr. Daedalus, and he's been given a small jetpack. But as he leaves, Grayson jumps onto their helicopter and follows. During the chase, Grayson fires missiles, forcing Agent 1 to eject from his gear. But on his way down, Agent 1 falls towards the helicopter, shooting at it. He tells Grayson that Spiral has been playing on Checkmate's board from the start. They've been trying to keep everyone within Spiral from fulfilling Dr. Daedalus' plan, keeping watch and keeping the great Dick Grayson tied up. Grayson jumps from the cockpit of the...
Your weekends are rugged, but your weekdays are smooth. Then you're a man who does what feels right. So shave the way that feels right. Blade close, incredibly gentle. New Philips S9000 Prestige. There's always a way to make life better. Philips.
Helicopter to the roof of the helicopter, stating, you missed one thing. I like being tied up. He then lands on Agent 1, and the two of them begin to punch each other back and forth until Agent 1 manages to throw Grayson off of the helicopter. He luckily had a parachute, while Agent 1 begins to ride the burning helicopter down to the ground. Elsewhere, Dr. Daedalus and Luca are riding a train, and he asks if her sister died well. And Luca tells him, of course. He goes on to state that he thought that maybe she would surprise him. He did make her smarter. But Luca says, yes, but why didn't you make us both smart? And Dr. Daedalus informs her that he has no need for two smart children. He needed one to be cruel, so he bent the world into his desired shape. It's what he does. Luca then pulls her gun on Dr. Daedalus, telling him, yes, but you're no father to me. You're just a blind scientist, and it is I who will be at the center of the web. So how does it feel to be the helpless one now? Dr. Daedalus pushes a button and electricity shoots out, electrocuting Luca. And moments later, her body is dumped from the moving train. Back with Grayson and Agent 1, they begin to move back out while Agent 1 steals someone's car and Grayson goes to pick up his bike that he had hidden away. A short while later, Agent 1 asks, where do you get all these ridiculous toys? And Grayson tells him, don't be mad. We all can't be best friends with Batman. Agent 1 spins the car, firing his gun at Grayson, and he begins to drive back towards him, shouting, do not make me kill you. And Grayson tells him, don't worry, you won't. And then he hits a switch on his bike. The bike begins to speed up towards the oncoming car, and it rides up it, using it as a ramp, crushing the engine and driving off of it. Back over at Elizabeth's lab, Maxwell walks into a dying Elizabeth, and he tells her, I can help you. I just need the Minos file and all of the members of the Justice League, and I'll save your life. Besides, you never worked for him. He was the one pulling all of the strings. You're just a pawn. She tells him, you think you've won? Well, let me ask you, when is a pawn not a pawn? As Elizabeth types away at the computer, the screen begins to change, stating that the archive files on the Justice League have been deleted. And she tells him, when it becomes a queen. Over in the snowy mountains, Grayson finally begins to get close to Dr. Daedalus, and he opens up the doors to his hideout. As he walks through the lower floors, he hears Dr. Daedalus stating that it looks like the fly has entered the web. And he tells him that he has one chance to let Helena go. And Dr. Daedalus tells him, I cannot. She is my vessel, and I am her god now. I am the center of the endless spiral, the mind of the cruelest Leviathan. So step into my presence and see the truth, that I am the end. As Grayson enters, Dr. Daedalus begins to show him all the things that has happened to him and tells him, there is no end to the spiral. There is no end for me. And he hits him with the end of his cane, stating, I will erase every trace of the woman you love. And Grayson says, I have a better idea. He jumps back up, kicking Dr. Daedalus, and he tells him, how about I take you? He continues punching him, telling him, just let Helena go. Dr. Daedalus begins to laugh, stating, love makes fools of us all. And Grayson asks him, is that a yes? But Dr. Daedalus pulls away from him, telling him, you'll always fall into traps. It was always a yes. Light begins to fill the room, and then suddenly nothing but white can be seen. And then Grayson sees Helena. He runs over to help her up, and she asks, what did you do? And he tells her, what I had to. He begins to pick her up, and they walk towards the open door, and she asks him, what's your brilliant plan now? And he says, actually, I have no plan. It's time for you to run. I've spent years training my mind, learning how to fight against monsters who would use me. And she tells him, that's right, you're a superhero. I forgot. The two of them begin to kiss, and Grayson says his goodbyes, and then his mind begins to get taken over by Dr. Daedalus. Back outside, Dr. Daedalus, now in full control of Grayson's body, stops Helena, telling her, it's a shame you didn't run fast enough. By the way, now that I'm in this body, I can tell you that Grayson only truly loves a woman named Barbara. Helena spits in his face and kicks him away, stating, do you really think I care? He tells her, no, I think you no longer exist. Somnus, activate. Dr. Daedalus tells her soon his thought suppression satellite will make it so that no one remembers his name. No records will carry his history. They will erase his soul from this world, and everyone will ask the question, who is Dick Grayson? He then hears a voice telling him, that's a good question. And then he begins to see nothing. Dr. Daedalus asks Somnus, what is this? And Grayson tells him, the satellite can't hear you. You're in my mind, our mind. The world may have forgotten me, but here, that question's a bit more complicated, isn't it? So do you really want to know who Dick Grayson is? Well, you're about to find out. Dr. Daedalus' body begins to change, sprouting spider legs, stating that he will be the greatest version of them. But all of the versions of Dick Grayson begin to attack him, kicking and punching through his spider legs, telling him that he's done. Dr. Daedalus pulls out a gun, telling him that the world is theirs to shape. Join him! But Grayson says, it's not every day you get to become a Nazi warlord. I think I'm going to have to pass. As Nightwing punches Dr. Daedalus down, he tells him that this will be the last offer that he makes. This will be the end. The spiders begin to crawl out, attacking the other versions of Grayson. But the Nightwing one says, it will be your end as well. Dr. Daedalus tells him that it's his kingdom. He can't dare defeat him without destroying him. The risk is too great. Nightwing leans in, telling him, risk is what I do. Risk is who I am. And then he whispers the trigger word to deactivate the Hypnos. Tsuchigomo. Just as he says it, Grayson and Dr. Daedalus' bodies begin to merge, and Dr. Daedalus shouts, no! The world is at my hands! I am the center! But soon, Dr. Daedalus' body begins to crumble and fade as Grayson falls into darkness. A week later, Grayson begins to wake up in a room, and he starts to walk outside. When he opens the door, he sees Helena telling him, welcome back, assuming you're Dick Grayson and not some bug-faced Hitler in there. She tells him that according to the world, Dick Grayson never existed. According to Spiral, agents stop at 36. There is no Agent 37. But to her, he's unforgettable, which is why she programmed it so that she would remember into the Somnus satellite while she was trapped. She did make an exception, though. The family that he has in Gotham remembers him, but not many others, just in case he tried to be a hero. She goes on to state that what happened in the castle may be a normal Tuesday, but Daedalus was just in her head, and he made her feel things. A reminder of who she really was. Grayson says, a spy? And she tells him no, a Bertinelli. After everything that's gone on, they may be free from Spiral, but that doesn't mean they are truly free. They have their own destinies. And she can't wait to see who he's going to be the next time they meet up. And Grayson tells her, you know what? Neither can I. Will I be the acrobat, the sidekick, the heir, the spy, or maybe just a hero? And that concludes the Grayson storyline. I hope you guys enjoyed him as a spy. We have an entire playlist where you can watch this entire story unfold. But next week, it's going to be Nightwing Rebirth. It's time for him to be Nightwing again. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter @ComicStorian, and I'll see you next time right here.
Assemble your starship and take flight in an epic space adventure in Starlink Battle for Atlas. Freely explore the 7 exotic planets of the Atlas star system and fight back against the Forgotten Legion. The legendary Fox McCloud and his iconic R-Wing starship join the battle exclusively on Nintendo Switch. Seamlessly swap pilots, ships, and weapons in Starlink Battle for Atlas. Out now. Star Fox add-on content only on Nintendo Switch.
Dick Grayson has successfully defeated Spiral, so what's next for the boy wonder? Welcome to the Complete Story Series, where I take trade paperbacks and single issues and I break them down to the digestible by self you understand. Then I read them dramatically back to you. All alterations to the panel, segment images are to prevent copyright problems, and all art is owned by its respective companies. Today is DC Rebirth. It is not a reboot, but it is a new direction for the stories to bring back things that we loved about our superheroes from before the New 52. Today is Dick Grayson back in the black and the blue. This is Nightwing Rebirth. This is mostly a recap of everything that happened to Dick in the Grayson series, which we have an entire playlist for, so you should go check it out if you're actually interested in this. Dick Grayson has been through hell. He was unmasked by the crime syndicate, and then he was murdered, only to be saved by Lex Luthor. But with his identity revealed, he went undercover within Spiral, the spy organization at the request of Batman. He discovered a plot to take over the body of an individual and create chaos in the world. And of course, he stopped it. In stopping it, he activated a satellite that removed the memory of his secret identity from the world, all except for the Bat family and a few select friends, smiling the whole time. And now he's in an arcade with Damian, who is super excited to see him. Dick and Damian have been hanging out in the arcade while they catch up. Damian has been traveling the world making amends for his year of blood, which we also have videos on, while Dick was undercover with Spiral, which we also have videos on. Damian asks Dick about Helena Bertinelli. She was his partner and then the head of the spy organization, and once they discovered the master plan, she worked with him to end it. Damian asks, do you think she'll be keeping in touch? But Dick isn't sure. After Dr. Daedalus messed with her mind, she seems to have other priorities to cover for the spy organization Spiral. He went to Helena's room to knock on the door and say goodbye.
Okay, so I've done the detail on top already to put the layers underneath of clothing, so I'm going to maybe choose another texture now and see what I can find for like a cloth. I don't know what kind of what to use really for a cloth.
Damian asks Dick about the files that Spiral had on all the secret identities of every superhero in the world. And Dick reassures him, telling him that all of those files have been collected by Batman and they've been destroyed. To make the situation even better, Dick trusts the current head of Spiral to keep his word that he won't explore that avenue again. It's his old partner, Tiger, former Agent 1. Flashback to 2 days ago, as Dick, Tiger, the synthetic assassin from the Syndicate, and various other rookie agents were dropping a Hive experimental research. The rookies failed to stop the enemies, and Tiger called them all almost as useless as Grayson himself. Aw, thanks, Tiger, Grayson says, kicking a guy in the face that was about to stab Tiger. Tiger allowed Grayson to come along, even though he's not an active agent any longer, and Grayson asked him about the device. Tiger assured him that it is being handled. So Grayson jumped on a drone and began to steer it away. Thanks, Tony. I have a flight to catch. I told you not to call me that. And with that, he left his former partner in charge. Back in the current time at Wayne Manor, the two boys walk in and Damian asks Dick about the guy in all black. Dick tells him that his name was Midnighter and he prefers to be called Dick Grayson's arch nemesis. And he's pretty sure he's going to see him around. Flashback to the day before in the Alps, when Grayson and Midnighter were fighting a weird monster, and they defeated him. Midnighter looks up the name of the project. Project Killicorn? You're not even trying anymore. The two of them walk through the door technology, teleporting them to the God Garden, a floating base up in space where Midnighter functions out of. And Grayson throws up from the door technology while Midnighter throws the Killicorn to the ground. He then turns to Grayson. Here's the device. The gardener says will help the kid. Grayson takes it, and then Midnighter simply tells him, it was fun being your nemesis. Now go back to being a superhero. You're too nice for the spy work, Grayson. Back in the present day, Grayson and Damian sit down and Grayson sticks the device up Damian's nose where it removes a bomb placed there by the Court of the Owls back in the days of Robin Wars. Damian rubs his nose. I demand action figures and ice cream. Batman walks over asking, did it work? Which pisses off Damian since his father knew. So where are the Court of the Owls now? Well, Lincoln and March is standing in a labyrinth beneath Greece. He goes on to state that they have Nightwing on their side now, and new plans are in place. Everything will work beautifully from the shadows. And then, takes a dart to the eye. Another man walks forward telling him, this isn't a party for you. Back in the Batcave, Batman asks Dick Grayson if he's sure that he wants to do this. Dick tells him, I do. They thought they could threaten my family and get what they wanted. They were wrong, because Nightwing is back to infiltrate the Court of the Owls and follow up on that storyline from Robin Wars. Now, I found that this to be one of the better Rebirth issues because it resolved everything from the previous run, and it kind of set up a couple of issues, including the Batgirl, the Birds of Prey series, and the new Damian series, and stuff like that. But overall, it just sent Dick Grayson on a new direction. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and we will be bringing you the first Nightwing story very soon, so I hope you guys enjoy that too. And follow me on Twitter at Comic Story, where we can talk about what you feel about this new direction for Dick Grayson, and don't forget to follow me on Instagram, where you get early images from a lot of these comic books. Hope you guys enjoy, and I'll see you next time.
Oh, kind of grey. What am I talking about? Let's have black again. It has to be very dark.
We built Frame.io to have all the video you're working on and the people you're working with in one space. Get started with Frame.io today.
It's time for Nightwing to invade the Court of the Owls. Welcome to the Complete Story Series, where I take trade paperbacks and single issues, and I break them down into digestible bites to help you understand. Then I secretly and covertly read it dramatically back to you. All alterations to the panel, text, and images are to protect my identity and protect me from copyright problems, and all art is owned by its respective companies. Our story begins in Romania, with Dr. Leviticus and her undead friend digging through graves looking for strange coins. As she finds them, she hears a voice stating, "The Parliament will pay well for those," and then the undead man is shot in the head. Dr. Leviticus turns back to see a gauntlet next to her head, and the voice tells her, "What I want is to dig up the past, and if I don't get what I want, it will be you who is buried." Meanwhile, over in Greece, Dick Grayson, aka Nightwing, is summoned to the international branch of the Court of the Owls to discuss his less than satisfying results. The Court of the Owls thinks that they own Dick Grayson because they have threats against Damian Wayne, the current Robin. But what they don't know is that Dick is really playing them. Recently, the Owls of Dubai found themselves the target of a thief and outlaw named Raptor. However, his skills were deemed useful, and they were able to give him a financial counteroffer to have him work for the Owls instead. After his mission is complete in Moscow, Dick will meet with Raptor and accept his assistance and partnership and learn from him. Dick tells the man that they can make him join their little cult, stop Cobra from expanding into their territory, but just know that he won't be one of the talents. He's going to do things his way. Before leaving for Moscow, Dick meets up with Barbara Gordon, and to his surprise, it was not a date because she's in costume, to tell her that he's going to be going away for a bit of an undercover job. She tells him that she thought he was done doing all of that undercover stuff. He went through hell to get back his secret identity. It's going to be dangerous. And Dick tells her everything they do is dangerous. They're currently on a 275-foot high bridge. Soon, Barbara hears on the scanner that there's a crime happening and tells Dick that he had better at least get her a souvenir from this trip. Later, as Dick gets into Moscow, he finds his target and he acquires the documents that he had. But as he sits alone looking at the nesting doll with Barbara's name on it, he hears a voice telling him that he's pretty cocky for dropping his guard. Raptor states that he's followed him ever since his run-in over in the square since he figured the danger was over. The name's Raptor, your new partner. Dick gets up stating, "Nice to meet you. I told the Parliament that I would be doing this alone. Nothing personal, but I've already had some of the best partners." Dick begins to leap up the wall, but before he can go, Raptor kicks him in the back, slamming him into the wall. From the ground, Dick tries kicking, but Raptor grabs his legs and throws him off the side. Dick gets up trying to hit him, but Raptor just taunts him and holds out his gauntlet, shooting gas. With Dick stunned, Raptor cracks him across the face, telling him that he needs to sit down, shut up, and listen, because everything Batman taught you, it's wrong. As Dick gathers his strength, he begins to leave, stating, "I hope you had your fun because I'm out." And Raptor stops him, stating, "Wait, isn't that what superheroes do? Fight and then team up?" Dick stops to listen, and Raptor explains that Parliament gave him an assignment involving the Cobra unit. They hijacked a ship over in the Black Sea belonging to a prominent member of the Parliament. Raptor whistles for his aircraft, telling Dick, "You're a stranger here, so you're going to need me. Someone to spot you." Dick figures, why not? He's got so much to teach him, and when he learned from Batman is wrong, what could go wrong? The next morning, Barbara calls up Dick, stating that she's going to be in Tokyo for a bit, but when he's free, she waits for them to meet up so he can give her her present. But in the meantime, don't do anything dangerous. He tells her, "Me? Do something dangerous? It's like you hardly know me, Barbara." Shortly after, Dick and Raptor jump down into the Black Sea, and Dick notices a shark swimming a little close to them. Raptor says not to worry. These are common threshers, and they're not known to attack. But as the two of them swim off, Raptor is suddenly pulled underwater. Dick rushes underneath, and he sees Raptor struggling with a snake man. But before he can help, Raptor's gauntlet begins to click, and then a red liquid sprays out, covering the creature. The sharks from before swim over, attacking the snake man creature. And Dick asks Raptor, "I thought you said they didn't attack." And Raptor tells him they don't, but they do attack snake dudes who have just been sprayed or the shark attracted. Why would you even have that tool? The two of them quietly sneak into a ship, and Dick decides that he'll do some investigating on his own, and he heads into the lower levels. As he enters into a medical
Shark
room,
attack.
Dick notices two people laying on the tables there.
Same as the spray they had
After pushing the table, he finds a trap.
in that Fable episode that everybody seems to know about,
He starts to crawl out of the first one's stomach. The one from the stomach grabs a
where he has
scalpel and
shark
swings it,
repellent.
but before she can hit, Raptor
That's
jumps
Batman in the
taking
helicopter, if
her
anybody
after
remembers.
realizing what's going on. Dick throws one of his batons, hitting the woman, and Raptor says, "Did you want to know what the Parliament had that Cobra wanted?" Dick tells him yes, but then Raptor notices the scalpel still inside of him, and he says, "If this is how you watch a guy's back, it's a wonder Batman's still alive." Raptor then explains that Cobra's genetic research division is always looking for raw biological material. They prefer the forgotten people, the ones that no one will notice missing. Refugees. The Parliament is creating a new nation, a stronghold for the elite, and these people will build those walls. Back in Greece, the Parliament commends Dick and Raptor for their success in taking back the boat, and they hand them their next mission. As they're leaving, though, Raptor asks a question that is kind of on Dick's mind. You want the Parliament destroyed, right? Well, you need someone who's already got one foot in the dark. A guy who just delivered innocent people to the claws of the Parliament. Dick punches him, telling him, shut up! Just tell me you have something. Something that can bring the Parliament into light. Raptor whistles for his aircraft, and Dick asks, why should I trust you? And he tells him, because I've always been playing the long game. The two of them then head to Norway for their next target, Nut Rudd, the world's most acclaimed designer of mazes. The story with Nut is that he got his fortune told by a tarot reader. The reader scared him by telling him that one day an assassin would come and kill him, so he turned his home into a giant trap-filled maze. But before they head inside, Raptor notices something and swings to protect Dick. His arm, though, is caught, and then he is slammed to the ground by Barbara Gordon. Raptor fires a dart at her, but Dick tells him, stop, whoa, 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 let's skip the fight and then the team-up thing. Can we just have a minute? Dick pulls Barbara aside, asking what she's doing, and she tells him, what the hell are you doing? She tracked his phone signal here because he stood her up, and she was worried. Dick explains that this is the undercover job that he was doing. And things got kind of a little crazy, but he's close. That's the important thing right now. He then leans in to whisper that house down below them, there's a blueprint of the Parliament's secret headquarters. They want it destroyed, but he's going to take it and finally put the Parliament in jail. Raptor calls out that he doesn't want to be that guy, but they should probably get going if they're going to report back in the morning. Barbara starts heading down to the house with them, stating, well, I'm going to join you. If you can't make a date, then at least we're going to do superhero stuff. The three of them sneak into the mansion, and they begin going through Nut's traps within his giant maze until they reach the last room. On the floor is another puzzle, but this one is with tarot cards. Once all three of them are inside, the door is shut, and the ceiling begins to descend. Thinking back to Nut's vision, Dick arranges the cards just as the reading would have told him, with him dying in his home, and just as the ceiling is about to crush them, it stops. Raptor tells him it worked, and then the lights go out and Barbara screams. Once the light comes back on, Dick sees Barbara on the ground and Raptor nowhere in sight. The two of them chase Raptor down the hallway, and as they enter the room, both of them stop and look in horror as they see Raptor standing over Nut's body. Barbara says to Dick, you just let an innocent man die. Dick runs over punching Raptor, and then on the screen, the Parliament watches, stating that they did a good job. Now the Bat family will know Nightwing's moral failing. The payment will be, but then Dick grabs Raptor and slams his head into the monitor. But before he can hit him again, he says, that's enough. From behind them, Nut gets up stating, did I do a good job? I tried real hard not to breathe. Dick asks, what's going on? And Raptor explains that he just used some of his fake blood that he keeps stored in his gauntlet. The problem with not feeling pain is that it's easy to bleed out. Raptor helps him up, stating, here's the deal. The Parliament thinks he's dead and we saved your life. So thank us. And why don't you hand over that blueprint in return? As the three of them leave, Barbara yells at Dick about how they're supposed to inspire fear into criminals, not help them play sick pranks and steal money. Dick tries to defend himself, but Barbara goes on stating that he pretended to be dead to infiltrate Spiral. Then he sold his soul to destroy the Parliament of Owls, swinging so far out it's like he doesn't want to come back. As she leaves, Dick asks Raptor why he didn't tell them sooner that he wanted to dismantle the Parliament. And Raptor tells him, because earning trust is shown by actions, not words. I told you, everything Batman taught you was wrong. Dick asks, now what? And he tells him, we should stop by my home before we go back to Greece. A long time ago, the Court of the Owls needed a way to keep track of whoever they gave their copper to. To do so, they hired a mad inventor to make the Book of Wisdom, unreadable to all but a select few. But in my home, I have Dr. Leviticus, the one who created the book. Once Dick and Raptor sit down, Dr. Leviticus explains that the Book of Wisdom is something that she did in fact create. But she's done other things like cure death, aging, even lactose intolerance. A long time ago, she found a way to bring the dead back using an alloy, an electron, and the Owls wanted to use that for its immortality. The book would mechanically store information from the patterns on the coins, but now the Owls want her dead, well, more than dead, so she built a copy of the book as well. The only thing that they're all going to need are the coins. Later, Dick and Raptor are welcomed back to the Parliament Grove, the Owls' labyrinth, by the Orator. He tells them that they did such a wonderful job, and he tells them that it's finally coming time to celebrate the birth of the Owls' new nation. A new nation needs their symbols, their gods. These refugees will be the blood sacrifices. The festivities will begin in the morning. So until then, they're welcome to eat and drink. Once they're left alone, Dick says that he's done playing the long game. He's going to finish this tonight, and Raptor tells him, your instincts are right. We do it tonight. Later that night, the Orator was woken up by a knock on the door, and when he opened it, he's told that Dick Grayson and Raptor freed the rats from their cages. He then asks them if they told anyone else, and they say no. And then with a slash, the two are far dead, as the Orator says that it could hurt his standing with the Parliament, especially since he was recently promoted to God. Down in the labyrinth, Dick and Raptor led the captives out when suddenly the Orator comes in crashing through the wall. He shouts that there will be sacrifices made of the innocent, and Dick says, that right there That's what you've been betting on the entire time? Dick throws his baton at the wall, bouncing it off, hitting the orator in the eye, but he knocks him away and he slashes at his stomach. Suddenly, a dart then hits the orator and he begins to fall over. Raptor helps Dick back up and he asks, "What was that?" And Raptor tells him, "The orator's body has been conditioned to simulate animal DNA. So I injected it with some animal DNA that I had lying around. That shark attracted." Raptor shouts for him to go before anyone notices, but when they turn the corner, Dick sees it. There in the center of the labyrinth is the box of coins. Dick grabs the box, and Raptor tells him that he hopes he remembers how to get out, because I'm having a real hard time right now thinking straight. Dick looks back and he sees a cut on Raptor's leg when the orator first attacked, and Raptor's bleeding out. He begins to take off his gauntlet to give himself blood, but while Dick ties off the wound, the orator shouts that he's going to make Dick one of them. The two quickly get up and they begin running, but as they run to the exit, Raptor stops and says, "I can't go on. I'm a wanted man. If I go out and escape with you, then just put me back in a cage. So go, take the coins and leave." And then Raptor places his hand on Dick's chest and he pushes him out the door. As he falls, Dick calls out, "I'm ready for pickup, Tony!" And the voice tells him, "You should not be calling me that." A glider flies out and Dick catches it. Then he safely floats down to awaiting spiral agents. However, what Dick doesn't know is that Raptor is still alive. Lady Evil Cobra thanks him, telling him the coins work. The first names of the Parliament of Owls are coming through. And Raptor tells her the device that Dr. Leviticus made that Dick gave Spiral has a little back door. So every time they draw a name, so will she. Lady Eve then asks, "What about Nightwing?" And Raptor tells her, "Don't worry your pretty little head. I've got him wrapped around my finger." And that is the first story arc.
I don't know if you can see what I'm doing, guys, but I'm just basically, again, copying the lines I've already done of the picture I did yesterday. If you haven't checked that one out already, guys, go and check that out and learn how to sort of do certain things and what the end project was, because this is the end digitization, which is what I normally do. But I'm using every tool that I have done in all of the other episodes, all in one go, instead of sort of doing it stage by stage, as normally I'd do the colouring and then I'd go into putting on the shading or details before, because I'm afterwards. Sorry, trying to do this all in one go. But don't know how much time I have got left today.
Continuation of the Nightwing comics in DC Rebirth. Nightwing 7 and 8, The Rise of Raptor. At the end of our last story, Dick Grayson wanted to work with his new contact, Raptor, to locate a book that reveals the names of those within the Parliament of the Owls. At the end, Raptor stayed behind so that Dick could get away with the Book of Wisdom. However, at the very end, Raptor had tampered with
Let's put everything back on, see what it all looks like.
Every time Spiral reveals
Of course, I need to move these layers up. Give me a second.
As Dick heads out to meet with Tiger for a bust on the Parliament of the Owls. But as the two of them get ready to move in, they hear a scream, and then a giant cobra creature charges out of the doors. Dick fights it off, and Tiger looks at it stating, "I've never seen this before. It's a cobra convert, genetically enhanced assassin." Just then, Dick looks into the room where the owls were and
He won't move.
Seconds later, Tiger gets a call from headquarters stating that they found something. It seems that the Book of Wisdom has a backdoor transmitter on it. Whenever they recovered a name from the coins, it seemed it got sent somewhere else as well. But before Tiger can question Dick about it, he sees Dick already jumped off the balcony. Later, over at Raptor's hideout, Raptor sees Dick and he offers him a beer. Dick tells him that he knows that he rigged the book. He knows that he used him. As Dick grabs him, Raptor pulls away stating, "Yeah, I didn't murder anyone. I sold the names to Cobra and they donated the money to help refugees, ones that the Parliament enslaved and exploited." Dick knocks Raptor through a wall, stating, "It's not for you to decide. That's for the justice system." Raptor just laughs, fighting back, stating, "You're just going through Batman's version of justice. All that will happen."
Bring all back all the layers that I've done now, just so you can see
He goes on stating,
what the end picture is going to roughly look like.
The two continue punching back and forth, knocking each other.
I don't think we're doing too badly. We've just obviously got some details and tweaking here and there. I'm going to make myself a quick drink now, guys, and step away and sort of refresh my eyes a little bit while we've got to this point. And then what I'll do is continue on. But let me know what you think of it, guys. And have a nice Halloween. If you're going out this evening, be careful. Then I'll be right back because I need a wee and a cup
All
of
those
tea.
things you got for Batman, Bruce Wayne, they all make you weaker. Dick reaches out, but then the drug takes over and he closes his eyes. All you can hear is Raptor stating, "You've just seen everything taken away from you. Over in Gotham, Bruce Wayne gets ready to give a speech regarding the recent attack. Before he can get into it, a voice calls out to him from the crowd. The man asks, "What do you have to say about the fact that the damage done to the city by the monsters is nothing compared to what you and the 1%ers have done?" Raptor then pulls his foot down and takes out the security guards, telling Bruce, "What do you say about taking in orphans and stripping away their culture to make little extensions of himself?" He then pushes forward, grabbing Bruce by the neck, whispering, "I know you're bad. So how about we get along with this?" Bruce clenches his fist, and he releases him, allowing himself to be captured. Back at Raptor's hideout, Dick begins to wake up as Damien screams into the radio. He says that his father's been kidnapped, so they hurry. And Dick tells him, "I need to do this alone. This is more than me and Bruce. This is about Raptor and my mom." A little while later, Bruce sits up in his chair, strapped down, as Raptor tells him how he completely disarmed him down to his laser cutting tool in his bulge. Raptor goes on telling Bruce, "You took Dick Grayson from his home, his people, who raised him in a world of privilege. You turned him into a weapon for the Brits against the poor and desperate. You ruined Dick Grayson. So it's time for Batman to face real justice." He continues stating, "Even now, the people at Wayne Enterprises went to work making a cover-up story stating how Bruce Wayne showed willing submission to prove his selflessness to everyone. With that Wayne Tech's stock price rose, and with this lift, once it reaches $200, you'll be dropped." But just before he presses the button, a crack can be heard, and Raptor catches one of Dick's batons. He tells him, "It's time for your final." But then a second one flies in, hitting Raptor right in the head, cracking his mask. He says, "Fine, it's only fair seeing the eyes that have watched you all of these years." Dick runs in, uppercutting Raptor, and then he runs over to check on Bruce. The Raptor tells him, "No, this is what they want." And he hits the switch. Bruce's chair suddenly launches into the air out of Dick's reach, and then he knocks Dick away, going on about how this is what they want. They want to break the poor down so that they'll come running and worship the rich, offering everything to them. The two continue going at it, and Raptor starts to overpower Dick. But as they fight, Raptor continues to talk about how even with his disease, the government wouldn't help the poor with drugs. Even after everyone left, there was one who came by and picked him up. It was Dick's mother, Mary, and the two of them stole the medicine that was supposed to be given to them, as well as whatever else they felt that they wanted from the mayor's home. So from then on, he always watched in the shadows to protect her, till she was killed by a selfish man who didn't get money that wasn't his. Dick then smiled, stating, "I was mad at you for all the dumb pain you caused, but it's really you who's in more pain than me, isn't it? You loved my mother, and when she died, you blamed yourself until you could finally blame someone else." Dick grabs a pipe, cracking Raptor across the face, stating, "The thing with Bruce, though, is that he raised me to not be like him. We saved each other so that I wouldn't cross into the shadows like you have." Raptor picks himself up, telling Dick to shut up. "You don't even know me." "You're right. I don't even know your real name." Raptor starts to swing, and Dick tells him, "You don't have to do this. I know you don't feel pain," but Dick then breaks his arms and legs, leaving him there so that he can go save Bruce. Back at the lift, Bruce tries to pick the lock as the stock price continues to rise. Though he picks it to get up, he has nowhere to go. He begins to let go as the chair begins to fall, and Dick swings in, grabbing him before he hits the ground. A little while later, Tiger shows up stating that Raptor has a pretty clever device, so they're going to confiscate it. But since Raptor's wanted in 17 countries, Tiger can forgive Dick for his hasty exit back at Sydney. Tiger then turns to Bruce, stating, just in case Raptor says some nonsense about him being Batman, they have the technology that can make him change his mind. Dick and Bruce watch as Tiger takes on and tells Bruce that this is all his fault. He almost got him killed. He almost fell. But Bruce puts his hand on Dick's shoulder, telling him, "You didn't. I jumped. I jumped because I knew that you would catch me." And that's the story about how Dick Grayson dealt with the whole Raptor and Bruce Wayne situation. Now, here's the cool part. Because of this situation, Dick finally realizes that he's been undercover pretty much for the last 5 years of the comic book runs, because he was a Spiral and then he was doing this. And he decides that it's time to find who Dick Grayson and Nightwing really are. So the storyline that starts up after this one is Dick Grayson going home to Bloodhaven. And that's the story that I definitely want to read. Let me know in the comments down below what you think about Raptor, and what you think about Bruce, what you think about Dick Grayson, what you think about Bloodhaven. And don't forget to like this video if you like all of this Nightwing stuff, and I'll see you next time right here. It's time for Dick Grayson to go back to Bloodhaven. Boy, Rebirth is really getting me excited. Welcome to the Complete Story Series, where I take trade paperbacks and single issues of your favorite comic books, and I break them down into digestible bites, add a little bit of epic music, some funny voices, and then I read it dramatically back to you. All alterations to the panel text and images are to prevent copyright problems, and all art is owned by respective companies. Now, in our last video, Dick had faced off against the one person he thought he could trust, Raptor. But after learning that Raptor had actually tampered with the Book of Wisdom and abducted Bruce Wayne, Dick took the fight to Raptor and defeated it. Now, with all of that over, he decided that he needed a change of scenery. Figured that he would settle down in Bloodhaven. It was a late night in Bloodhaven as Paul sits in his office on a call regarding the most recent weapons shipment to a client. As it buzzes the back door, Paul tells his client to hang on a second. His takeout just arrived. As he opens the door, he doesn't see anyone, and then he's suddenly pulled out. The man on the phone begins asking if everything's okay, but all he can do is hear Paul scream. The next morning, Dick heads over to Bloodhaven Community Center to apply as a counselor. As he sits in the office, Sean Sang says that his resume looks really good, but her only question is...
Oh, sorry guys, I didn't realize the screen had gone blank there.
Let alone apply for volunteer positions. Dick thinks about it, and he wants to tell her that he's here so that he can work on trusting people again. With the things that he's done, the people that he's met, people have died, and he's begun to question his own judgment. But rather than stating that, he says that it's because of that new tourist campaign. It really got his blood up. Get it? He laughs, stating that he's sorry for the bad jokes, but Sean tells him that it's okay. She tends to get a little suspicious with everyone, real bad habit. She then extends her arm, welcoming him to the long hour to zero pay and non-existent benefits. As the two go on, there's a knock at the door as James Nice introduces himself and says that he's sorry that he needed to borrow Sean for a quick meeting. James tells Dick that if he's looking for something to do tonight, there's plenty of after-dark entertainment in Blood. As Dick leaves, he says that he appreciates it, but he's not really much for the nightlife. He heads off, and James turns back to Sean, telling her that he really just wanted to talk to her about tonight. He thinks it's time to wear the costumes. Sean says that she's not really sure they're ready for it, but James tells her that they've already lost Grace. It could be something to help face their monsters together, even for her. Later, Dick begins setting up his new apartment, and he enjoys the life of not having to put a costume on in the evening. As 8:30 turns to 8:40, Dick realizes that this could actually get pretty boring. While laying in bed, he hears the sounds of sirens and decides that maybe just this once will go out. Surely he can figure himself out on a single night anyway. After suiting up, Dick listens to the police scanner to hear that there have been reports of a murder of Paul Petreno, who was brutally beaten and had his bones broken in 39 places. The report goes on to state that the strength used to beat him was inhuman. Dick lands on a nearby building and he hears something from the shadows. Gorilla Grim jumps out ready to attack. Dick tells himself that he knows who this is. Him and Batman kicked this gorilla's butt on more than one occasion. But it's strange that he would show up here at Bloodhaven. Dick easily dodges the attacks and he pins down as the police arrive. Grim shouts, "You didn't do it! He's trying to stay clean! That's why he came to this city!" As the officers pick up Gorilla Grim, one tells Dick, "Thanks for the assist, but they are only going to be nice this once. They don't deal with the tights types around here at Bloodhaven." But before the officers can take him away, Grim pulls away, telling Dick that he's got to do something. Go talk to Sean Sang. She'll know what to do. And as he says that, the officer tases him and takes him away. A little while later, over at the community center, Sean tells herself that they're going to be here soon. She can do this. And the door to her office suddenly opens up as Dick walks in, stating, "Hey, we need to talk." And she turns around, shouting, "Nightwing?" And that's when Dick sees that Sean is another one of his old villains, the Defacer. She shouts for him to get out of there because she would rather not hear anything that he has to say. He could ruin everything that the runoffs have worked so hard for. And as Dick begins to question who, Stallion charges through the door, knocking Dick to the ground. He grabs onto Stallion's hand and he throws him into a mirror. And Sean runs over, telling Stallion to calm down. Don't do anything stupid. Remember all that we've done in group. Remember the man on the inside. Stallion looks at one of the broken shards in the mirror and he says that he's done it again. Why can't he get this through his thick skull? Sean tries to comfort him and then tells Dick, "Look at what you've done. These people came here to get away from Batman and all the others." Another voice tells everyone to calm down, and James walks in with the other runoffs, explaining, "Nightwing, this is a support group for former supervillains of Gotham." Sean starts pulling Dick away, telling everyone it's all right. Nightwing was stopping by just by mistake. Mouse then speaks up, stating that maybe since he's here, he can help them with the conspiracy. Dick asks, what did she mean? And Sean pushes Dick out, telling him, "You've already caused enough trouble here." As Dick is leaving, he thinks about how these people are terrified at just the sight of him. But then again, that's how everyone treats you when you're with the Bat family. Once outside, James runs out asking Dick to wait. He just wanted to tell him something before he can go. All of the people here are because of Nightwing, and they do need help. The police don't listen to them, but they would listen to Nightwing. They already lost Grace to the Whale Enders gang. Dick tells him no. He just recently got wrapped up with a criminal, but James stops him, telling them that he too was on the wrong path, but the runoff saved him. So maybe they can save Nightwing as well.
All right, guys, it looks like I've got to...
He's going to walk. And then he asks if there's anything that they notice different about Grim. James says that
swatch over different devices so you can actually hear the playlist in the background. The tablet I'm using is running out of a battery, and so what I'll do is in a moment I will, while I'm having my sandwich, swap on over to the television as well instead. So you've still got something in the background, so you're not sitting there in silence while I
she tells Dick that she
carry
can
on.
show him where Grim lives. extra. The
Happy
woman's
ending, I
directions
suppose.
lead to the
But I would like to
old
know what you guys think, and let me know in the comment section.
He notices a shipping building that has security cameras on it, which could possibly place him here at the time of the murder. He sneaks in to check out the security footage, but he sees that the tapes at the time of the murder are currently signed out. The records show that it wasn't the police who took it. The person who did smeared their name with some sort of liquid that smells like horses. As the sun rises, Dick decides that it's best to just call it a night. And the next night, Sean tells the rest of the runoffs to have a good night as they leave their meeting. Through the shadows, Dick steps out, stating that he wanted to wait until they were gone. Sean says that's nice of him. But maybe they are not just the only ones who've been traumatized. Dick tells her that he knows. Back then, he was wearing a different set of shorts when he first met her and arrested her. But right now, he's here because he needs to talk to someone. He goes on stating that he's having a lot of trouble trusting people, and it feels like he may be a lot like the runoffs. Really, what he's trying to state is that he feels Grimm is innocent. He's going to help him whether they like it or not, because helping the runoffs can help him too. Sean tells him back when she was taken away by the police, she was so mad at him that she couldn't see it. The look in his eyes was something like, what if they had met under different circumstances? Dick says, like, what if it were just us? And she leans in, telling him, yeah. But the sirens begin to blare as two police cars pull up, and they tell Sean that they would like her to come with them, as she's currently a suspect in a murder. Dick tries to stop them, but Sean tells him that he'll figure this out. One of the officers then pushes Dick back, telling him that he can go back to Gotham. This is the job for the real police. No ad campaign, as he points to a billboard that has Nightwing on it. A little while later, Detective Elise arrives at the most recent crime scene of Robert Chapman, with the Defacer's tag sprayed all over the place. Before she can even drink her coffee, Dick appears behind her, stating that they need to talk. He's a little sorry for scaring her. She tells him it's all right, that coffee was crap anyway, but he is contaminating a crime scene. He looks around and asks, why would it matter? They've already taken their photos and decided that it was Sean's song. Police says, well, given the circumstances here, this is her work. But as Dick finishes up and gets ready to leave, he tells her that
Okay, guys, what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave it here, and I will come back at a later date very shortly. So give me roughly 15 minutes, and I will restart the stream and get the second part done. So keep tuned as and check out what else I've got going on my channel, guys, on the daily videos, and how I drew this in paper version, because we will be coming back in about 15 minutes to continue on with part 2, as this is the last day of Dark Month, and October the 31st is Halloween. So check out the other videos that I have got on my channel for Halloween and pumpkin carving. We've got a creepy story with Alexa and many other different drawings from this dark month. So definitely, guys, don't forget to check those out while I take myself a little break, and I will be back very shortly. Thank you very much for watching this today, guys, and I'll see you in the next stream very shortly.
When Grimm went to the meeting, it involved a crew of